what we do here is go back.
And we are live. At least, hopefully we are. I'm not too sure. Yep, looks like we're live. Happy days. Good evening, it is Mike here. Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is Saturday the 11th of June 2022. I had to think about it then. For those of you that haven't already, don't forget, next weekend is Father's Day. So yeah, the 19th here in the UK. I'm not too sure about the States. I think it is around a similar sort of time, because I'm seeing a lot of advertisements on YouTube's and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So evidently it's going to be happening very soon. So if you haven't already bought something for Father's Day, now's a good time to start looking, especially if you're in the UK, because you've got a week left. So yeah, make sure you do something for your fathers. I was going to say something then, but I won't. So tonight on the stream, we will be taking a look and discussing the pros and cons and the whys and wherefores of, actually, does it make sense to build a gaming PC that is basically efficient? And we'll be talking about what makes a PC efficient, what components you can use or change or swap out, possibly underclocking. I know already from some of the people that have commented over on the Discord. If you're not a member as well, head over to the Discord and join in the chat over there. There's actually a mention that basically kind of undervolting your processor and or your graphics card can pretty much do the same effect as buying a lower end graphics card. You still get roughly the same frames per second within maybe a 1 to 5% chance difference of things being a little bit slower. But in a lot of games where you're looking at maybe 100, 200 FPS, are you going to notice that? But potentially you could save a ton of electricity and also reduce the thermals, which then obviously in turn lets the graphics card and the processor and all the other associated bits, lets them work a little bit harder due to that thermal overhead. So plenty of things to discuss. I'm not entirely sure that it's the right thing to do, but I guess at a time like now, when electricity costs are spiraling out of control and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight, and if anything, it looks like it's going to get considerably worse if we're going to believe what we hear in the news media, which generally I tend to not. But I guess being sensible, you should kind of keep those things kind of on your periphery. Take it in, don't necessarily believe it, but plan ahead anyway, as I would expect most of you do anyway, because you're intelligent folk out there, or at least most of you. So yeah, maybe those are things that are in the back of your mind already and you're kind of thinking towards the future. Is it worth reducing my power overheads? I was actually playing some games the other night, doing some tests, and I was playing some Far Cry 6 on my own rig. 5700 XT in there and a Ryzen 7 5800X. And I had the resource panel up on the left-hand side, or right-hand side, I suppose it is. And the AMD thing, and it's telling me how much power my CPU is using and how much wattage my GPU is using. And it's actually quite scary how much wattage is actually using. Now, I think when I was playing Fortnite, actually, the frame rates weren't specifically that high, around about 150, 160 FPS. And my graphics card seemed like it was using kind of 200 plus watts from memory. I do remember looking at it and thinking, bloody hell, that's quite a lot of wattage. And the processor was using somewhere in the region of about 60 to 70. I'm thinking that's like 300 watts just for those two parts almost. Take into account then you've got your NVMe drives, you've got your motherboard, you've got your thousands of RGBs going on your PC. So yeah, all in all, I'd love to have measured at the time what the actual draw was from the power socket. Because you've got to take into consideration as well, you've got your power supply, which isn't always going to be as efficient as you'd like it to be. If you've got a gold power supply, then maybe things are going to be looking up for you. But if you're maybe using a bronze, a white, or even a power supply that isn't rated at all, then potentially you're just throwing money down the drain in terms of wastage in heat and just inefficiency. So it's all those things that you can take a look at to work out how to potentially save much electricity, but also, is it actually worth it? Will saving energy be detrimental to your gaming experience? So that's things we're going to be talking about in this stream tonight, going through a potential build. I was planning on doing an actual build tonight. There is a new case that has come out on the market from Gamemax, the Gamemax Icon Mesh, which actually fits the build for this particular setup perfectly, which is what I was kind of basing it all around. Sadly, it was supposed to be with me today in order to kind of preview it on the stream tonight and then do an unboxing later on in the week. But sadly, for some reason, it does not appear to be somewhere here. I cannot find it. It has not been delivered. Been out in the garden today doing a bit of sunbathing and a bit of gardening and all that kind of stuff, and kind of planning tonight's stream in my head. And yes, the case didn't arrive. So Gamemax, thank you very much. Your best efforts have gone well noticed, but have unfortunately floundered at the final furlong. Anyway, let's move on. We'll say hello to some of you in the chat. Kath currently is out in the kitchen. We've just had a shopping delivery from Tesco, which bizarrely we probably should be using Morrison's, being that there's some offers on at the moment, which we've been plastering everywhere this week, but we'd already ordered it, so hey ho, it is what it is. And it looks like I've just had a messenger message, so maybe that is going to be from Gamemax. Let's have a look. Oh no, it is from David Aitken. Gaming PC, £390, view product. Sorry, I'm waylaying myself here. Somebody in Bristol selling a gaming PC for £390. Whereabouts are they? Oh, relatively local. What's in there? Thermaltake Versa V22 Snow Edition, original box. Intel Core i5 11600K, nice. GeForce GTX 1660. Z590A Pro motherboard, MSI. 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance, obviously. Western Digital Green 240 gig SSD and a Seagate Barracuda 3 terabyte. And a Thermaltake Light Power 450 watt RGB power supply. Why? Why would you put a 450 watt power supply in that? Anyway, it's not too bad. So £390, did you say? Yeah, £390. Potentially I might take a look at that. Also, there is another message coming. I do apologise, I'm so disorganised. That's what happens when Kath leaves me to my own devices. How do I get back on air? Alright, that's from a customer, so I will leave that for now. They're not important. They are really, I'm joking. Right, let's have a look. Where's my bloody mouse? There it is. I can never find anything in here. So, where are we? Live chats, that is the one. Yeah, hopefully you're all having a good Saturday evening. For those of you that want some actual real entertainment, England are playing Italy on the television tonight, so that will be rather entertaining, no doubt. No clue, actually, who would win that. England have been on pretty poor form recently, last game or so. Italy, not too sure. Not really been following them, so yeah. If anybody scores, I probably will hear about it because there's a pub over the back of us, and no doubt all the pissheads will be in the back garden watching the football on the big screen. So as soon as there's a goal, one way or the other, we'll hear it. So I will try and relay that to you, or if you want to let me know in the chat, feel free to do so if you have any interest in international football whatsoever. So Arali is with us. How you doing, Arali? Hopefully Arali is recovering from his heavy week. He's had a heavy week at work. Hopefully he's chilling a little bit now. We've got Rick H with us. How you doing, Rick? Matthew Day says, my energy is too low to finish rebuilding my PC. We've all been there, haven't we? Although, more times than not, I've been either, well, probably not energy levels, just pissed or stoned. One of the two. We've all been there. Ordinary Nerd says, E. I'm assuming that's short for good evening. That's a very efficient way of getting that message across. Paul Bakewell's with us, says good evening all. How you doing, Paul? Craig Lilly says yes, next video. Rick H, good evening Lady Kath, Sir Mike, and to all the mubs around the world. It's actually, we're getting quite a wide-reaching family now of mub viewers. A couple more today from Italy, which is why I remembered about the Italy and football. And a few more Aussies as well, so happy days. Nice to see you all in the comment sections, in the chat and in the Discord. It's really nice to have that kind of global view of what is going on around the world in terms of like computer parts. In Australia, it seems that things are actually getting quite good. Price-wise, things are coming back into level. Availability is looking pretty good, so that's pretty cool for our Aussie friends. Not too sure about what is going on in places like Germany, so maybe Dutch Jan and William Bodie might let us know what's going on over in Germany. And yeah, let us know what the deal is. Are parts becoming more and more available in your neck of the woods? Hit us, us here in good old Angleterre. It seems to be getting slightly better. There does seem to be a gradual trickling through of graphics cards. Definitely in the second-hand market, prices are dropping considerably on graphics cards, which is something which does concern me greatly, being that I've already got 3 piss-poor graphics cards which are losing value as I speak. So yeah, that's not always great, but it's good for everyone in general that we're starting to see things like someone on the Discord mentioned they've got a GTX 1650 Super for like £80. Which is insane, really. Especially seeing as I paid £100 for a non-super less than a week ago. In fact, it was a week ago today, I think. So, yeah. It's good that it's getting better for a lot of people. Dutch Jones says, moin. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. From Germany. How you doing, Jan? Kenny D and the boys. Now that he's found love, what is he gonna do? Sorry. It's been one of those days today. I'm just feeling a bit tired and stupid, really. Kenny says, hi everyone, hope you all had a nice Saturday. Yeah, not too bad. I can feel my suntan burning and I feel my head. I should have had my mub hat on. I think that would have been a sensible... a sensible thing, just have it there. Just have like a bright red face and a white head. That'd be amazing. I actually did that when we went on holiday one time. And I remember it very, very well. And I got suntan lotion, which I generally don't tend to use very often, but I got suntan lotion and I must have had it on my head and I must have been sweating and I went like that across the top of my head. And then obviously throughout the rest of the day, there was no suntan lotion there, but there was on my face. So there's like this, basically a big brim line across there. I look like an absolute moron.
No, it's where you put your suntan lotion on.
Yeah, suntan lotion, I went like that, didn't I? Because I was sweating or something. Or I had suntan lotion there and not there. Anyway. Basically, there was a line across there. I looked like an intercity train. It was ridiculous. Anyway, moving on from that. We've all done it. Although those of you that have got hair probably haven't. Glenn's with us, says, hey all, how you doing, Glenn? Matthew Day says, no yellow sticker tonight. Wow. It's Waitrose Bubbly Battered Cod. Very nice. We were going to go for fish and chips, but I decided... I normally have something really stodgy on a Saturday, and it does affect the stream quality. Well, at least it does for me, because it makes it harder to do, because I'm like, oh God. So I had a salad. I had actual salad and actual herbal tea, which was cilantro and mint.
But where did the salad come from?
And the salad came from our garden, so it's homegrown salad. Awesome stuff. The tomatoes weren't, because they're not quite ready yet.
Or the cucumber.
Or the cucumber. Or the cheese. Or the tuna. Or the mayonnaise. Other than that, the whole thing was from our garden.
The leaves were.
The leafy stuff, yeah. It was good.
And so were the teas.
Yeah, and the herbal tea was from the garden, from our cilantro plant and our mint plant. I actually like that. If you've not tried it before, cilantro and mint as a tea, it's really nice. I wasn't expecting that. Kath wasn't expecting that on her phone either.
I'll be there.
Craig Lilly says, Matthew Day, I guess those cod are easy to catch. Just look for the bubbles. Yeah. Mark Point says we need some music. Yeah, I need to work on that. John Sullivan's with us, says, hi guys. Welly Bob's with us as well. How you doing, Welly Bob? The Cult of Mub. And Nick Barnes, Sadie, Mike, Kath, and everyone. Welly Bob says, cult sounds a bit intense, I'll admit. Yeah, you don't want to say I'm a member of a cult, because, yeah, you get all kinds of strange looks. Captain Meets Adventures is here. Says, alrighty everyone, as he inches nearer and nearer to the magic 5-0. Sorry, Captain. Glenn says, a woolly flock of mothers. That's quite difficult to say. Aletta says, is it worth building a low energy gaming PC? No. Give me more power. Give me all the power, lol. Hopefully someone's paying Aletta's electricity bill. Or she's got solar panels or a generator. I think that's what we miss out on actually here in the UK. Because of our kind of infrastructure has always been pretty good, and most people live in kind of areas which are well catered for, we don't really see the need for things like generators and solar panels to some extent, because you're so reliant on your electricity. It's so reliable as well. And I think Americans have got the right idea where they've got like nice weather, solar panels, a little bit off-griddy. Yeah, I think that's going to be the saving grace for a lot of people. There's a super chat come in from Ugly Bob. I thought Ugly Bob was on holiday. And he says, I can't stop. Have a great evening, y'all. Well, we will. And we are £20 better off for it. Thank you, Bob. Hopefully you're enjoying your break. Try not to drink and eat too much, because I'll be jealous. Don't order lobster. It's expensive, apparently. I had a dream about lobster. Or was I talking about lobster? I said to someone, order 100... Oh, that's what it was. It was on Discord when we were talking about Morrison's doing home shopping. And I said, yeah, try and order 100 lobsters. And that way the affiliate links kickback will be pretty awesome. I don't know how much a lobster costs, to be fair.
About whatever I was dreaming.
Kath was dreaming some weird stuff the other night. And basically was laughing her ass off. Literally ruffling in the bed. And decided to turn the quilt round the other way for some reason. Just basically, like, you know, you have quilts and like one side sometimes got a pattern, the other side's plain. Ours is kind of like that, and she decided that she wanted the other side. So just in the middle of the night just flipped it all around like you do.
But in my sleep.
But in her sleep, and whilst absolutely pissing herself. Not literally. This is not a Amber Heard thing. She was just laughing her ass off.
The wrong emoji now.
Flipping the quilt. I don't understand. And she had no idea about it, and at the time I was like, what are you doing, you lunatic? Like, talking to her. And it wasn't until when I came down in the morning I said to her, do you remember any of that? She said no. And I explained to her, and she was actually ruffling more when I told her about it than she was at the time. She found it hilarious. I didn't. I was pissed right off. I'm like, leave me the quilt, give me the quilt. Urgh. For those of you that have been in a relationship for a long time, you know how important it is to have your quilt or your blankets on your bed. Anyway, moving on. Nick Barnes says, low energy, should that read console, not PC? Now that is also another thing to throw in the mix. At the moment, with the Xbox S retailing for somewhere in the region of about £200 here in the UK, is pretty much all the horsepower you need to play a lot of games. To be fair, the PC which I've spec'd up, which is on our PC part picker builder list, which is probably pinned, I think, to the top of the comments section here, so if you want to scroll up, it's also in the video description as well, so you can check that out. That had a 1TB hard drive, or 1TB SSD, whereas the Xbox Series S comes with a 512 as standard. So you get, obviously it's a PC, you get a little bit more flexibility, but arguably after using the Xbox Series S, playing a few games on it, if you are just really looking at games, you're not really looking at either kind of content creation or other PC things, such as possibly other artwork stuff, you know, like the Photoshop, making PowerPoints, Word documents, all that kind of stuff, then if you are just gaming, Xbox at the moment is probably a really good way to go, because kind of most games which are available on PC are available on Xbox, and if you've got Xbox Game Pass as well, that's kind of making it even more compelling. Clearly, there's a lot more flexibility with the PC, so if there's a game which isn't on a particular console, you can obviously get hold of it by other means, which you probably shouldn't go into, but if you want to, a PC does give you the flexibility to do a lot of things that a console clearly cannot do. There's obviously things that will go wrong as well. Windows is a fickle beast at the best of times, whereas the Xbox generally it'll just update. Although saying that, for those of you who watched today's video, you'll notice that I had troubles with my Xbox Series S, and literally I've only used it 3 times. Granted, I did change the HDMI sources, or the monitors it was plugged into, which appeared to do some crazy stuff to it. So Microsoft, their Xbox runs basically on a cut down version of Windows 10. Windows 10 sometimes doesn't like being swapped around with monitors. So yeah, it's done the same thing, but there is an easy way to get around it, as you'll see in the video. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be useful to some people. I've spent ages, because most of the guides online were about the Xbox, what is it, not the digital one, the other one with the disc. I'm not even sure what they call them now. So there's so many models of Xbox, it's crazy. But the digital versions don't have a CD drive or DVD drive, so you can't press the eject button, which is what is used for some of the other kind of reset techniques. So anyway, yeah, hopefully the video is going to be useful to somebody. Nicholas Barlow says, good evening everyone. Mark Point says, when you play a PS4 on a 4K monitor, it doesn't sound low power. No, I bet it doesn't. I bet it spins right up. Chris Goddard says, happy Saturday evening everyone. Danielle Embley is with us as well. How you doing, Danielle? Dutch Jam, I've already said. Welly Bob says, it's 28.5 right now in my room. It's actually relatively mild in here tonight.
We've got quite a lot of breeze here.
Yeah, it's... Oh, ooh, that was lucky. I just dropped my temperature gauge, and the temperature in the room currently is 24.8 degrees, which is actually positively mild for this room. Although we've been outside most of the day and the window's been open, and so the PCs haven't been on heating up the room.
You should put it on your head and see.
Yeah, put it on my head, it'll come up about 50. Japan One's with us, says hi all. Letta says, I'd make an excellent overlord. I don't doubt that. Afika's with us, says, hello Mike, good day, how you doing? Dutch Jan says, why undervolt? Just buy a lighter GPU. That is, yeah, that is definitely a consideration. Undervolting generally, if you look at it in terms of performance-wise, most people undervolt because they want the same performance but using less power or generating less heat. And let's be completely honest, heat is a byproduct of inefficiency, which is why if you have a particularly efficient processor, then it can run very cool, unless the manufacturer in question has overclocked the tits of it and has got it basically on the bleeding edge of what is actually potentially possible on that piece of silicon, or the CPU. So there's lots of things where, like Apple have dialed it in really well, I feel, recently with the M1 chips, and obviously the M2 which will be coming out, where a lot of their devices are kind of fanless and still perform exceptionally well, which isn't an easy thing to do. And for anyone out there who's ever put together a media center PC or some kind of small form factor PC just to play content on your TV or something, you will know how difficult it is to keep those devices both cool and quiet. Generally the two don't coexist unless you're using a really, really low-end processor and huge pieces of metal to keep it all cool. So hats off and kudos to Apple for what they've achieved there. Oh, my nose is whistling. Sorry, I do apologise. Oh, where did I get to? Christ. David Underhill says, Australia prices are okay except for GPUs. Some are still double. CPUs like the AMD 5600X are good value. Motherboards are cheaper here than in the US, UK. By the way, I live in sunny QLD. It's like Queensland, I suppose, yeah. Temperature is 2 degrees C at 5:30 AM. Is it? Oh yeah, because it's Australian winter, isn't it, at the moment? I lose track of... Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, summer, Christmas, don't they?
Steve Larkin's with us. How you doing, Steve? Old Man Withers, how you doing? William Bodie, I think I've said already. Kenny D and the boys. Now that he's found love, what is he gonna do? Everyone, or not everyone, there's a lot of people that come into our little world and we kind of assign them a theme tune. Some of them are easier and more obvious than others. Kenny D is obviously, that's a very easy one. Although we could have gone with a bit of Kenny G with that. That would have been probably better, but Heavy D and the boys is kind of more, I prefer that. It's a little bit easier. Who else is there, Kath? Who else have we got theme tunes for?
Wild Bill.
Wild Bill, obviously. Duran Duran's Wild Boys. Who else is there? There's a few others, isn't there, that we've done. I'll have to remember. I'm going to have to write them down, and then we'll do a MUB top 5 contributors and their songs. That might be a Christmas episode. Oh dear. Freckle Puny says, low wattage powered PC. This is funny because Linus currently has a video testing a 3450 watt PSU, which they label a fire hazard. Yeah, it is definitely, we are at the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Wow, that was hard. Old Man Wither says, H610, interesting, not seen anyone use one of those before. It's, surprisingly, I've been doing some benchmarking with the 12100 this week, basically just as iGPU, without a graphics card, on this to see what you can actually get out of it in terms of a super low end and low powered PC. Now, the H610M, actually H610, does allow you to do overclocking in RAM, which I didn't expect. So you can actually XMP and change frequencies. I actually managed to run this at DDR4 3200 easily, which I'm not even sure if it's meant to do that, but it did appear to, and it works okay. So yeah, it doesn't really seem at the moment, unless the prices are very different, not really much point going for a B660 in terms of kind of base features, unless you're getting a K-series processor or a higher core count. K-series probably isn't going to be that helpful because you still can't overclock it. So it's a really weird thing. Intel's 12th gen confuses the life out of me. It really does. With AMD, you kind of know where you are. If you go A320, you're looking cheap and cheerful. No overclocking, no nothing. B450, B550, overclock pretty much anything you want. Put anything you want in there, it isn't a problem. Overclock the crap out of the RAM, it's absolutely fine. And then you've got obviously X570 for kind of the enthusiast stuff. Whereas with Intel, it's kind of like, there's a lot of kind of okay-ish processors which don't overclock. So unless you're going for a K-series processor, which even then doesn't overclock a great deal, the Z-series boards don't really make a great deal of sense unless you need specific features, which obviously some people do, hence otherwise they wouldn't make them. But yeah, the H610 platform is actually surprisingly good, and I was quite impressed. So much so that I am actually going to be doing a build with most of this stuff in. Like I said, if you didn't hear earlier on in the stream, we were supposed to be getting a case from Gamemax today, the Gamemax Icon mesh, and it's MIA, so we couldn't do the build. So this is kind of also, even though we're talking about kind of low TDP or high efficiency parts, you still can make a nice looking PC which people will want to buy. It's kind of almost going down the same route as what kind of OEMs and system builders that are doing it for the money would do, rather than those that are kind of enthusiasts. Most enthusiasts, I feel, would go for a higher end motherboard, a B660 at least, and obviously on the Intel side of things like a B550 or higher. Whereas OEMs and system builders are like, right, the selling points are going to be processor, graphics card, case, possibly storage space. Whereas, so with that, the H610, yeah, you put a processor on there, a non-K processor. Most people who buy these sorts of systems have got no idea if they can overclock or even how to overclock until probably about 12 months later on, where they think, I could do with a little bit more speed. How do I overclock this? And then they go, type it into Google and they, bugger. That is what happens. Then they become an enthusiast because they learn about it. We will go through it. Anyway, moving on. Ugly Bobs says he's watching the England game in a packed Greek bar. Oh dear. Look after your backside, Bob. Where's Kath's doing loads of replies there. Freckle Puny says there's a bit of me considering getting a laptop connected to a monitor for my next main PC. I think as time goes on, that is going to be more and more common. We did have the Microsoft phone And also Samsung did one as well with a dock. So you just basically plug your phone in and to a hub of some sort. It'll connect to your big screen, keyboard and mouse, all that kind of stuff. So you could have basically your computer with you all the time. And I think laptops are getting more and more like that. Matthew Day says, can you get YouTube on Xbox? Yes, you can. Yeah, there is a YouTube app. It's not so much of an app. It's very much like what it is in Windows 10. Effectively, Windows or Xbox apps are kind of Windows 10 or Windows 11 apps. They're packaged slightly differently because obviously it's running on slightly different hardware and they're signed and stuff like that. But it's effectively the YouTube app, as far as I know, is basically just a wrapper. So you click on it and it opens it up in the browser. Stuart Clear is with us, says hi all. How you doing, Stuart? Blake says, hi guys, the answer is yes, by the way. Now, does anyone want to talk about a pointless football game? There is a pointless football game going on. David Underhill says, Xbox Game Pass is useless if you only have a slow broadband connection. That is very true. Internet connectivity is something which I think, by and large, is actually kind of... There's a very... I wouldn't say elitist, but there's a very kind of isolated feeling that I get from those kinds of companies like Microsoft and streaming companies in general. Because in America and other parts of kind of European countries, possibly Australia as well, I'm not entirely sure, but they've got really, really good internet, like really good internet. Whereas here in the UK, the average speed for most people is going to be somewhere around about 30 to 60 megabyte, which is like not a lot if you're streaming 4K or trying to download games or apps. So there's definitely that to be considered. Yeah, we do struggle. I'm lucky I think we've got either 400 or 500 megabytes broadband, but we do pay a premium for that. And it's not asymmetrical. It's not symmetrical. So we've got like a 400 meg download, but only maybe about a 30 megabyte upload, which obviously is fine, but for streaming and things like that, it's not great. Anyway, moving on. Actually, let us know in the chat, in the comments section, what your internet speed is. I'll be interested to know. And also say your country, if you don't mind saying what country you're in.
Lamin's already done it. In Kosovo, I have 5 megabytes Mbps download speed.
Oh, blimey. Jabant1 says, sorry, I think I've scrolled past a load there, but sorry, I do apologise. Bring it back up. Sorry, Anthony Carter says, hi Mike and Kath, how you doing, Anthony? Is it Anthony or Anthony?
Anthony.
I always wonder. Well, no, because that Anthony is no H, whereas with its H in it, it's Anthony, isn't it? Does anybody care? What? Anthony or Anthony probably does. David Williams. If energy prices keep going up, then it makes sense to look at low power build. Definitely. We're lucky to some extent because we're self-employed and we pay our taxes, etc., etc. So we can claim back a sizable portion of our electricity bill because primarily we spend kind of from the moment I get up until the moment I go to sleep, realistically, is spent in this room, either making content, researching content, preparing, all that kind of stuff. It's basically, this is where I live, kind of thing. So arguably, electricity-wise, we don't have an electric hob or electric cooker, it's all gas.
No, cooker's electric.
Oh, sorry, the oven is electric, sorry, I do apologise. So arguably, we could claim a very large chunk of our electricity usage as a business expense, because effectively it is. And in fact, I would love to get a separate electricity meter put in just for this room. And then I could say, right, bill me separately for this room. Because it is...
But we still make coffees and work time.
True, yeah. Making coffee and food and snacks during working hours. Snacks is, yeah, that costs money as well. So we should claim for that. I'm definitely going to put a bigger tax claim in this year for electricity. There's no way on earth that isn't going to happen. Because if I'm getting taxed and bloody penalised for using electricity, well, I'm going to claim as much as I legally can. Not any more, not any less, just what I legally can. Just saying that out there, so yeah, it's just saying that. I'm going to do it lawfully. Mark Point says, Hardware Unbox called my MSI A320 motherboard garbage, and I was thinking, F you, the Mobo is great. I'll be honest with you, that is another thing that I find, especially on the YouTube platform. There is a very, very elitist attitude towards components. And if you go on Reddit, it's even worse. It's toxic as all hell on there. If you don't have at least a mid-range processor board and parts, you do, by and large, get looked down upon. And I think that's, to be blunt, bollocks. It really is. Because there's a lot of people in this world that don't have a great deal of spare cash. And there's some people in the world that don't have any cash. So if they can get themselves an A320 motherboard and a cheap Ryzen processor, and they can start gaming on it, bloody good show. And fair play to them for doing it. Because there's a lot of people out there that are kind of pushed along by the whole community, and they're like, well, no, I'm not going to buy that board, because if I tell people I've got that board, it basically won't be as cool. But it's still going to play games, and it's still going to do most of the things that you want to do. There's obviously going to be some limitations, but if it's a choice between not being able to use not being able to game or use a PC, or to go with cheaper, lower end parts, hey, go with it. I'll be honest with you, like I said, I've been testing this Intel 12100 with this H610 motherboard, playing some games. They're at lower resolution, but it's great. It's gaming, and it's actually enjoyable. And because I've spent so little money on it, that makes it even more enjoyable for me. So for anyone who's out there who's kind of like really value conscious, and I try to be, this is a great little setup. It really is. Yes, it isn't the best motherboard in the world, but it's got PCI Express Gen 4 if you want to use a Gen 4 card. It's got 2 RAM slots, which for most people is going to be enough, 16 gigs or 32 gigs of RAM, in a relatively cost-effective packet. This normally retails about £70, which I feel is too much. But you can pick them up reduced quite easily on various sites, CCL in particular. They do keep on cropping up around about £50, which is what I paid for it. And yeah, what is there not to like? The performance for the Intel 12th Gen processors is phenomenal. It really is. The single core performance is off the hook. It really, really is. Anyway, moving on. O'Reilly says, missed the start of the stream, too much gaming on Guild Wars. I don't think I've ever played Guild Wars. Don't think I have. Matthew Day says 0-0 at half time. Oh god. That's what happened last time. William Bodie says, how much do RGB use? That is definitely a consideration. If you are on an extreme budget, turning off RGB is definitely going to save you some money. I don't think it's going to be... Actually, I can work out. We actually got sent some stuff from our good friends at Gelid, which happens to be Gelid's new Tranquillo Revision 5, which is supporting LGA 1700, which obviously makes perfect timing for this. But also, they've got a new range of fans. So this is their Zodiac 120mm fan, which actually comes in a really big box, considering. So actually, I'm going to see. So the LED voltage is 5, and the LED current is maximum of 0.73. So if you times current by voltage, that gives you watts, I believe. So it's about 4.2 watts per fan. So potentially, is that right? 0.73 times 5. Can someone do that for me, please? I don't think I can. My brain doesn't want to work. Let's go through your broadband speed. So David Williams, 100 up, 100 down, East Anglia. Nice. Captain Meats on 61 megabits per second in Liverpool. Mark
37.5.
37.3.75 then. Mark Berry's at Dorset and 43 down, 5 up. That sounds like Virgin Media. Kenny D, 30 down, 13 up, Manchester. That sounds like a BT line.
Angel's there.
Where's Angel?
Manchester.
Oh yeah, Angel is in Manchester. Raven. Rick H says, I love my MSI A320M-A Pro Max. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Really Random Review says, hi Mike and Kath, how are you doing today? I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Kath?
I'm doing good.
She's doing good also. Lammy has asked for... Lammy says, I have an i7 2600, 8GB of RAM and RX 570, and it's hella amazing. Nice one, Lammy. That's what we like to hear. Anthony says, it's Anthony with an H, but people call me without the H. I don't like the H. Okay. How about we just call you Tony? Or TC, Tony Carter. Mr. Knott says, hey Mike, is the EVGA 500 watt W2 PSU any good? Yeah, it's fine. The W2's it's a slightly more budget offering, but does the job. I'm probably the last person that you'd ever ask about power supplies. I am well known, especially within this community, for using really, really cheap ass power supplies. And I actually stand by using them. I genuinely do. I've got... I lose track of how many Cylon power supplies I've used over the last 3 years or more. And touch wood, I've only had one which was an outright failure, and that was because one of the SATA cables was slightly disconnected. You possibly could say another one was a failure because it had a noisy fan. I kind of don't include that. I think that was more a case of it was a used one, and I think someone had just pushed the grill actually into the fan, and it was making a little bit of noise, so I thought, I'm not going to bother bending it, I'll just send it back. So I kind of don't include that one. But the only one I've actually physically had to send back because of it being iffy was one, and that was because that SATA cable where they basically snapped the SATA cables together on the thing, and normally you've got 5 cables that run through. All 4 of them were connected, but the 5th one, you could see the kind of the copper wire where it snapped through it, but not kind of held onto it. So definitely that was a manufacturing thing. But in terms of actual reliability, whether they actually work or not, they've been fine. And I've not had one blow up or pop, or I've not had any people that I've sold PCs to come back and say that power supply you sold me is dead or has set fire to my house. It's the sort of thing you'd normally hear about, but I've not heard anything. And I'm sure I've had at least 10, at least. For me, budget power supplies are fine. Obviously, don't go too budget. Make sure it's at least got some sort of efficiency rating, although we kind of know that that isn't really a very accurate state of affairs in terms of power supplies, but it's better than nothing. So, like the platinum rating, gold rating, titanium, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. It's a badge. It's basically they've attained it. It doesn't always mean that it's inherently more efficient or better. It just means at a certain point in its test, it passed certain things. So don't be too kind of don't be too dependent on the actual 80 plus ratings, because they don't necessarily all go through the process in exactly the same way. And in some cases, they just basically fudge it. So yeah, don't put too much weight on it. Michael Craig says, apparently, according to those guys, pairing my 3700X with an RX 5500 XT, whatever, I do what I want. Exactly, do whatever you want. I hate that. When I've had this recently, someone on our Discord said, there was somebody who actually said, they've built this PC, and I think it was possibly a 12th gen processor, like a 400 or 600, and they paired it with like a 1650 or a relatively low-end graphics card, and kind of they got straight in on it. It's like, well, that's totally unbalanced. It's like, well, before I say it's unbalanced, maybe find out what they're using the PC for. If they're just using it to watch stuff on the internet and maybe some programming and things like that, then it's totally balanced because you've got a nice fast processor and you've got a graphics card which isn't using thousands and thousands of watts of unused power. So yeah, don't be like judgmental, because there's way too much of that, especially in the PC market. People have got what they've got. Like, I personally don't see the value in spending. Yeah, that's it. People may have had, he may have had to scrape around on his hands and knees trying to find the money to get that, in which case, fair play to him. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, don't be judgmental, because people can do what they want with the PC. That is the beauty and the flexibility of it. You can have a absolutely low-end processor with a really good graphics card if you want to. Alternatively, you can have a really poor graphics card with a really high-end processor if you want to. That is your prerogative. It's absolutely fine to do that. Anyway, moving on. Anthony says he had a good night out in Manchester the other week. I hear Manchester is quite the happening place, but I've never been there. David Thompson's on Virgin Media, 200 download, 20 up. David Underhill says Australia, Queensland, Clifton. There's a Clifton in Bristol. It's a very swanky area. Broadband speed is only 30 megabytes per second on a good day. It is FTTN VDSL. By the way, I am a 67-year-old retired microelectronic engineer. Now gamer with 3 PCs. Good on you, David. Keeping the PC alive. Awesome. Really random reviews, 80 down, 20 up in Nelson, Lancashire. Deathstrokes, 300 download, 30 up. Matthew Day says, balancing a PC budget is an art. I wonder how cheap you could go to run, let's say, Fortnite with acceptable performance. Now, actually, that is something which... Fortnite's actually quite an easy one to do in some instances, because they've now got the performance mode, so that kind of runs on almost anything, but it does reduce some things. Now in Fortnite, personally myself, I feel that if you're playing it relatively competitively, or you basically don't want to get killed straight away, then having the view distance turned up to epic is kind of essential. And even with performance mode on, if you put the view distance or draw distance to epic, it hammers the processor. Now, with this lowly 12100 on this particular motherboard, using the world's worst 250 watt power supply, with only the 4 pins connected rather than the 8, I still managed to get in the region of 45-50 frames per second in Fortnite with the onboard graphics on here, with epic draw distance. So that gives you an idea of kind of, potentially you can game on this. There's a video coming out which we have done. It'll probably be going out soon to patrons. And basically going through about 7 or 8 games. And surprisingly, this performs almost similarly, I guess, in terms of graphics horsepower to a 2400G, I would say. Like a Vega 11. It's very similar. Maybe a Vega 8. Yes, Kath.
What would Bobby Brown say his prerogative is when it comes to motherboards?
Who said that?
Who do you think?
Bob.
No, he's not in.
A letter.
No.
Paul Bakewell.
Captain Meat.
Captain Meat, it would be.
You should have known that.
Oh, I can't believe it. Andre says 2 to 3 amps easily for RGB, which means at least 24 to 36 watts for it. Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is like maybe like 3 or 4 watts for the RGB, if that. LEDs are pretty easy to run. There's 12 RGBs in there. Oban Withers says, chuck your 6500 XT in there. They're getting cheaper and use very little power. Well, actually, that is what we've gone through. Actually, let's have a look at the PC part picker list and we'll go through some of the bits that I've chosen. You can comment whether you think they're justified, whether you think I should go for something different. There's a couple of things on the list which actually, price-wise, kind of don't make a great deal of sense, but we'll talk about it as we go through. So let me just do this, and we'll go into PC part picker, and hopefully this is going to work, and hopefully you can still hear me. Oh, balls. Why do I always leave that thing on the screen? I know, it's because I'm a moron. Right, is that cleared? There we go. Happy days are here again, almost. Right, let's go to desktop. And there we go. So there is the PC part picker list. And you can see at the bottom the price there at £530, which actually is quite a lot of money for a low-end system. But these are all new parts. And there's certainly areas in this which we could definitely look at in terms of reducing the price a little bit. The motherboard, like I've said previously, is the motherboard at the moment is £75 at eBuyer. But if we just do a quick search for any H610M motherboards that are reduced, UK Hot Deals very frequently have them on for sort of £50 or so, like I said. So take off £25 realistically, that brings you to £500, which for £500 isn't bad. There's other things which we could have reduced as well. The hard drive, or the M.2 drive, that is somewhat of a luxury at 1 terabyte. You could easily put in a 250 or a 500. If you put a 250 or similar, you'd be looking at about £25, so that takes down another £50. You can reduce it quite a bit. I'm actually going to try and get the video up on my phone so I can actually see the chat, because I can't see it on the screen, because I'm a rookie in that respect. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so processor wise, as you can see there, so at the moment the 10100F is $89.99. There is at the moment an offer on Amazon.co.uk for the non-F version, i.e. the one that's got built-in graphics, and that is £10 dearer, so £99, which for a lot of people I would say is probably the way to go. But kind of getting this down to a price point is kind of where we're at with it. Motherboard wise, clearly this motherboard is not going to set the world on fire, but conversely it's not going to set your power supply on fire either, because there's not going to be a great deal of draw there. Looking at the VRM setup on there, I think it is a 5+3 setup, possibly, which seems to be very common with H610 chipsets. So don't be thinking you're going to put like an 8-core processor on here and have good times with it. You're probably not. 4-core, 6-core is going to be fine. 8-core, I think you're going to be pushing the boundaries of what this board is designed to do. But obviously if you want to, you can do. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Anything more than that, you are going to be looking at VRMs getting rather warm. I/O is going to be the same for pretty much all of these boards, so you're going to be very limited. Very few USBs, maybe 6 if you're lucky. But you will get a VGA port, you will also get an HDMI port. Unlikely to get a display port at this price, but then if you're going to be using a discrete graphics card, does it really make any difference? So that is the sort of thing you're going to be looking at. It's not a very pretty board, but then like I said, we're not really thinking about pretty, we're looking about saving energy. And where is it? So actually, if you look in the top corner here, so our estimated wattage for this system as it is 280 watts. That's pretty cool. Now clearly that is the maximum it's going to draw. So that is under full load, which realistically your processor and your graphics card and your hard drives aren't realistically going to be under full load all the time. So you could probably quarter that, maybe even less. And I do know actually for a fact the i3, the 12100 non-F version with the built-in graphics, idles it's somewhere between 5 and 10 watts. So when you're not using your PC, which is going to be probably quite a lot of the time, you're going to be using very, very little energy, and it's kind of normal wattage, or I don't want to say TDP because that's the wrong word really, but normally it's going to be using about 60 watts maximum although you can unlock it and get more performance using the kind of like ASUS performance accelerator, which some people have had them up to about 80 watts, maybe slightly more. So yeah, 60 watts for the processor. Motherboard's going to be using, I guess, maybe 35, 40 watts. Not a great deal of power. Corsair Vengeance RAM, that is going to be obviously interchangeable. Use whatever you want. At the moment here in the UK and pretty much around the world, it's almost universally at £60 for 16 gigs. It seems to be staying that price pretty much eternally at the moment. Very little movement in that, so that's a good one in terms of kind of working out what our baseline prices are going to be. The Western Digital drive, I actually looked at this for a couple of reasons. One of which is it's a very good drive. It's got decent cache on board and beats the SM550, which is its kind of lower end brother in. Fast drive as well, so you're going to get the most transfer out of it. Doesn't use a great deal of power, doesn't need separate power, takes power from the motherboard. 72.98 at the moment, but you do get a month's worth of free Adobe Creative Cloud with it, which for some people could be worth up to about £30, maybe even more. The Adobe Creative Cloud currently per month, if you go with the full-on package, is about £60 a month. So if you're someone who actually subscribes to Adobe's Creative Cloud suite, then potentially this drive is going to pay for itself almost, or like cost you about £12 more than what you'd pay for a month's subscription. So this is actually a good offer, like that a lot. Graphics card wise, I've gone with the MSI. This seems to be at the moment the cheapest one around, £148. So 150 quid for a RX 6500 XT, I think personally is not bad at all. It's certainly better than what they come out with the sort of £200 mark. Benefits of this on this particular platform is, I think Matthew Day mentioned it in the comments there, that this is going to be running PCI Express Gen 4 on the 12th gen motherboard, straight from the processor. So any of the drawbacks that we might have found using on a B450 or other chipsets or with other AMD processors, which are slightly older, with the 12th gen, we're going to get that full PCI Express ×4 power, although it's still not the most powerful card. Also, a lot of people are probably going to say, I haven't seen it in the comments yet, but there's bound to be someone who's going to say, but this doesn't support hardware decoding for video streams and stuff like that. But that doesn't matter because our processor does. So any of the weaknesses in this particular graphics card are basically mitified or mitigated, is whatever the word is, by the processor. So any of the hard work that needs to be done can be shared equally across the two, which I feel makes this actually a really good matchup. Case-wise, this is going to be something which could be a bone of contention. Obviously, you can use whatever case you like. That is, again, the whole beauty of it. So we're going with the Phanteks P400S. It's an absolutely fine case. There's nothing wrong with it inherently. It breathes relatively well. You're not going to be using a great deal of power, so you ain't going to be generating a great deal of heat. Bit of future-proofing because you've got ATX chassis, so if you want to put a bigger board in later, you can do. This would be more of an investment, I guess. You can, if you want to, just spend 30 quid on a CIT F3 case. Sigma Knight would be particularly happy if you did that. But yeah, it's a half-decent case, 40 quid at the moment here in the UK. If not, you can go for something like the MSI Forge 100R. Absolutely fine. This case, actually for £40, is pretty decent. I think I had the P400 RGB. So I'm actually almost tempted to get one of those for 40 quid. Looks like a pretty decent bargain to me. Anyway, moving on. So power supply. Now this is going to be again another massive bone of contention. I've chosen here to go with the Seasonic Core GC 500 watt. So this is 80 plus gold certified. Now, being that we're going to be only drawing a maximum of around about 280 watts anyway, I can imagine there's going to be people in the chat saying, is it actually worth buying a 500 watt gold power supply? And potentially it isn't. You could quite easily put in there a, what is it called? What is the name of the cheapo power supplies? I can't even think of them now. Aeromax, or Aerocool Cylon, or Aerocool Integrator. That's the one. Integrator. That would be absolutely fine, about 25 quid. You'd save a bit, save 20 quid on that. This is something which you can use later on. 500 watts is a little bit on the low side for potential upgrades later on down the line, but a very good quality power supply. And where are we? Some look through your comments here. Oh, and David Williams has become a supporter. Thank you, David Williams, for becoming a YouTube channel supporter. That's very cool of you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Yeah, Rick H says, welcome David to the Mub family. Yes, welcome indeed. So power supply wise, sorry, going back to it, this is the Core power supplies that I believe are not made by Seasonic. So don't be too kind of like, oh, don't be hyped, it's a Seasonic power supply. Technically, I don't think it is. I don't think it's made by cheapos, but I think it's made by someone like Great Wall or something like that. One of the few ones which isn't made by Seasonic. But you do get a 7-year warranty, and it is part of the Tough Gaming Alliance. So yeah, that's that's arguably a good or bad thing. To be honest with you, the Tough Gaming brand is actually pretty cool. If they did what if they do a higher wattage one? I wouldn't mind doing a Tough Gaming build at some point. Anyway, I'm getting off point. So anyway, that is the power supply. Clearly, if you want to, there are alternatives. So just out of curiosity, let's have a look and see what other power supplies we can get. Sort by, yeah. So AeroCool integrator, 500 watt, 80 plus bronze, absolutely fine. 25 quid. It's not going to set the world on fire like I keep on saying. Or actually, if you do want something half decent, you've got the EVJ BR. That's a 450 watt. That would be absolutely fine. Don't think many people ever regretted buying an EVGA power supply. Although I did recently because I bought a used one that didn't come with half the cables, but that's another story. Colink Classic Power, that's actually not a bad shout either. 600 watts, $32.99. That's actually a really good price for that. It is only bronze, 600 watt, but still, anything less than 40 quid, you can't go too far wrong. Colink do make some pretty good stuff actually. Anyway, so that is, I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah, see something. So yeah, 500. There's obviously areas you could shave money off of that. So you could take off 25 quid for buying a on-offer motherboard. The RAM you could possibly get down to about 50. The SSD, you could probably go for a SATA-based SSD and probably pay 60. So that's taking off over 15. Graphics card, not really a great deal you can do there. Although you could buy. Let's have a look at video cards. The only real other options at that kind of price point are going to be, let's tailor this down to a minimum of 4 gigs, sorry. And so what have we got? A GT730? No, definitely not. And yeah, basically that is kind of it. So Sapphire Pulse, Radeon RX 550, here nor there. It's fine, it'll do the job. 1050 Ti's I would probably avoid at the moment. The 640 definitely, or 6400 definitely. So yeah, you're looking at 6500 XTs really. You're going to go down a little while until you find something like the 1650s. So you've got 1650 there, the Ventus, which that's actually the card I've got. £186. Whether or not it's worth like almost an extra £40 over the 6500 XT, debatable. So that's a big jump, but anyway, you get the idea. You get where I'm coming from with that, hopefully. So there we go. There's the list. I've left it on there. There's a link in the video description so you can check it out. And let's go back to the main camera and see what you rabble have all been saying. Where's my bloody mouse gone now? Oh, there he is. Bonjour, mind mouse. I wish Windows would just snap back properly. Right, where are we? Oh, that's disappeared. Let's go. Let's give David Williams his moment of glory. So welcome to supporter. There's your badge on the screen. Thank you very much, sir. Does that actually come up?
Yep.
Hey, new member. Thank you very much. David Underhill, my PC went for a non-budget case, the Lian Li 0111 Dynamic Evo Grey. inverted build. I need room for 13 fans. Wow, that's a lot of fans. That puts me to shame. What else is? Atypical Mel says with PSUs, it's better to have more and not need it than to need it and not have it. I agree. I agree totally. That does make a ton of sense. It really does. I'm just looking at the screen actually. Does the colours look alright? I know my facial colour doesn't look alright. That's bloody ridiculous. But yeah, I've got a polarizer on the lens and I'm not sure if it's made much difference at all. Maybe it's made the colours a little bit, I don't know, because yours still looks washed out. Mine looks really, anyway. No one cares. Really random review says Seasonic are great. Yeah, Seasonic arguably make probably the best power supplies in the kind of mainstream market. I think you could probably argue.
They weren't made by Seasonic.
Yeah, I don't think that was. Dutch Jan says the Be Quiet Pure Power 11 500 watt. That's a good shout as well. Although the Pure Power 11, it's £65 in the UK, is probably a little bit pricey. Because isn't the Pure Power 11, is that still bronze? I could be wrong. I've broken things. Alright, David says they're made by Shenzhen Rushingen Technology. I'm not going to try and say that again. Old Man Withers says I've got the 650 watt version of that PSU in my system, I think. Good, good. Mark Berry says the old HP notebook is ancient. We're talking 2008 and it has a VIA CPU. Bloody hell. I would have liked to put a newer version of Mint on it, but they all seem to be 64-bit now. Lamy says Enjoy power supplies are very good. Never had a problem with it. Never heard of that. Enjoy. What? Trying to think. Where is that brand? Where are they based? Or where are they available? I've not heard of them. Matthew Day says, how much difference is there in monitor efficiency? I think mine is G-rated, which seems awful for a new monitor, but maybe it's by the standards of new monitors. As an old CCFL, lit is much, much worse. Yeah, that is... Monitors generally these days, especially gaming monitors, have hideously bad efficiency in terms of power usage. I think my 165 Hz over there is possibly an E or an F, maybe. Trying to get a low energy usage monitor that isn't just a generic kind of TN panel is really hard to do. And obviously the more frames per second, the more energy it requires to do. Stuart Cleary says, a polarizer.
One above.
Mark Points is probably going to do my ROG build tomorrow. Awesome. I don't like ASUS software. I really don't like it. Not so much the fact that it's not very good. It's relatively stable, but it's kind of clunky. There's lots of things that it doesn't do very well. It is getting better, to be fair. And I prefer using MSI motherboards for that reason, because I prefer their software and I prefer MSI boards in general. But MSI don't do a very good, or they don't do a budget H610 motherboard, or at least not one that is within kind of price equivalency of this. So it's pretty hard for me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm going to have to do an ASUS build, but it's not going to be a ROG build, it'll be a Prime build with ASUS Prime boards. I've actually got two Prime boards here now at the moment. Where is it, the other one? So I've got that one as well, which was, ironically, they both cost the same, which is bizarre. So that's a Prime Z690-P Wi-Fi D4. I'm actually going to do some tests between how well this processor does on this board versus that board. Being that it's a locked processor, just going to see if it makes any difference whatsoever. I don't think it will do, at least not massively. If anything, the dual Tau boot boosts rather, will be a little bit longer possibly with this because of better VRMs, etc. But I don't think there's going to be a great deal of difference between the two. In fact, I should have done it when I was doing the low budget gaming. I should have used that processor on there just to see how well it did. And there's young Poppy. Don't drink my tea.
Do you want to say hello tonight?
She didn't want to say hello. Oh, there she is. Antonio's on 65 megabit Vodafone Scotland. Thank you, Antonio. Mr. Knott says, I just wanted to thank you, Mike. I recently bought an MSI B550M Pro VDH, and your tutorial on how to update the BIOS was a great help. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Did you actually comment the other day regarding a question about the Pro VDH and the Pro VDH Wi-Fi, the two different BIOSes? Did you ask if it's the same process? If so, I do remember that conversation. If it wasn't you, then it was someone else. Lammy says, Google them. I will do. Thank you. Mark Point says, if your monitor isn't heating up your room, I guess it's safe to say it's efficient. Mark Point says, don't worry, Mike, I won't use it. Oh no, please do. There's the Digital Demonic Davros says, hello Mike, just watching the competition. I was watching Tech Deals. Tech Deals were doing a live stream. They haven't done a live stream in what seems like months. I wasn't sure what is going on. They've obviously had some issue or other. They didn't go into detail on it. In fact, that was the kind of opening statement that they're back and for reasons, and they're not going to go into it. So I kind of none the wiser, but it seems a bit odd if you've got a YouTube channel and you do kind of live content almost daily, why you just take a month off and not say anything. Seems weird. But yeah, Tech Deals were back to their usual self. He does crack me up, Tech. He really does. He's got a couple of different sides. He's got the kind of the jovial side, and he's got the kind of almost like a passive aggressive side when he talks about people under buying processors. He's got a thing about buy a faster processor than you need, so you don't have to replace it, which does make a lot of sense, but a lot of people don't have that kind of money, and most people will probably spend more money on a graphics card than a processor if you're gaming, that kind of stuff. Anyway, it was very very interesting, and they were talking about the it was kind of, yeah, they were talking about Intel's 12th and 13th gen, because 13th gen, we kind of know some of the specs of it now, so we know what to expect. And 13th gen does look spectacular. It really does. And I'm kind of glad now that I've got a Z690 motherboard that will work with 13th gen. Now 14th gen is going to be on a completely different socket again, I think with 2,500 pins on it or something crazy. And it's probably likely to be DDR5 only. So the last of the DDR4 kind of enthusiast stuff from Intel is going to be on their 13th gen, which I genuinely looking forward to. I think even their i5s are going to have 8 cores and 20 threads, or is it 10 core? Like 12 cores. There's a lot of information. I will dig it out at some point and we'll go through it. It's quite interesting. Danielle says, for my Asus B550 build, I did not install any of the Asus software. To my knowledge, I am not missing anything. You probably aren't. The only thing that Asus software will probably give you is a headache. No, seriously. The only thing it's likely to give you is going to be things like your Aurora sync, that sort of stuff. Maybe updated drivers in some instances. A slightly easier way of doing the BIOS. But yeah, it's not great. The MSI stuff is better, it's laid out better, and it's more cohesive. But it's still, weirdly, MSI Center has become buggy as hell for me recently. I'm not sure whether it's because I'm using a different processor now, but it does seem to be less stable. I'm getting some weird issue on Chrome where I get oh snap happening all the time. And I thought it was down to a switch that I bought, which I incorrectly blamed QNAP. and actually returned the Switch, which now turns out that I'm still suffering the problem, although not as much. So whether it's just a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet thing, I don't know. It doesn't appear to be, but it could be something to do with the drivers, the way that Windows is using it. I honestly don't know. Because Cav's PC is not having it. This PC isn't doing it, or at least I haven't noticed it. So it seems to be on my PC. And it's slightly driving me mad. Anyway, moving on. Really Random Review says, I don't see it as competition, I see it as a community. It is. We're all part of the big community of life. We're all in it together. We all come in the same way and we all go out the same way. What we do in the middle is the bit that matters. Mark Point says, I'm thinking Tech and his wife probably split up. Is Rogue his wife? I'm guessing that is the case. I've not followed the channel in great enough depth to realise. I think, well, the way they act seem like husband and wife. So I'm guessing that is the case. Ordinary Dude says, Tech Deals reminds me of a bad game show host. He's definitely got the teeth for a game show host. Definitely an 80s or 90s game show host on CBS or something. Yeah. Andre says, Tech Deals has the either you're going to buy the top thing or don't bother side. Yeah, which I kind of... There is that slightly elitist attitude there, which I get. Like, some people just want to get the best they possibly can, and you shouldn't compromise, and I get it. But the reality is, this is kind of planet Earth. We all have to work our jobs and do what we do to earn money. We've got to pay our bills. And sometimes just buying an elite PC isn't that high up there on the list of priorities. If gaming is your life, then yeah, of course, obviously make every effort to buy the most elite gaming PC you possibly can, because it's your thing, it's your hobby, it's your enjoyment, it is what you center your life on. But if it's just you're gaming a little bit, you've got a social life, or you've got a hectic work life, or you've got a young family, or you're in a kind of new relationship, etc. The last thing you want to be doing if you're in a new relationship is spending all your time and money on your PC, because that's just going to end it. But it won't end out well, and you'll end up being single. There's a very strong likelihood of that. So there's time and a place for everything. So you can't say to everybody, yes, you must buy the best possible PC you possibly can. No compromises, because there is life. We have to compromise. Anyway, moving on. Andre says, I installed Armoury Crate from Asus to change the RG LED on my GPU and then immediately removed it. If you search in your BIOS, in your registry or system files, just search for Armoury Crate. It will still be there. It removes very, very little.
Go up a little bit, Mr. Knott replied to you.
Mr. Knott replied, I bought the non-Wi-Fi version and I added a gigabit Wi-Fi PCI adapter. Good for you.
No, you asked if...
Yeah, I did ask if it was the Wi-Fi version. Yeah, maybe it was someone else I had a conversation about the same sort of thing. David Williams says, I'm trying the best to hold out buying a new PC until next year. It's always tough. It's it's always the way. I'm always thinking to myself, one day, sod it, I'll just try and claim as much back as possible on tax. I'm going to build an absolute ninja PC. So I'm going to get the latest and greatest processor, best motherboard, best RAM, best case, all that stuff. And I've been saying that for about 10 years at least. Even prior to the YouTube channel, it's been something I've always wanted to do. But I always get to the point where I spec it up, I look at the price and I think, even though I use it for work and I can offset a large portion of the cost to tax, I still struggle to do it because I just can't justify in my head spending that sort of money when I can get by with what I've got. And I know something really weird. There's a lot of you out there probably thinking, well, you're crazy. Just if you can basically get it for almost nothing, just do it. But it's still kind of like you're spending a lot of money on something which you don't necessarily need. Like spending over £1,000 on a 3090 Ti graphics card which I could claim, what, 30% tax back. So it's going to cost me about £700. Plus, if I make some footage on it, some videos, I can probably claim a little bit more back because of obviously recurring money, etc. But still, there's something in me, in my psyche, which says, no, don't do it. It isn't worth it. And I think that's kind of like a safety mechanism. I think even if I won the lottery, I don't think I would either. Maybe I would. Yeah, we aren't materialistic, as you can tell by my somewhat faded Mike's Unboxing t-shirt, which has got lots of holes in it. Actually, has it got holes under the arms yet? No. I do wear these things until they basically fall apart. And then I still put them in the wardrobe for, maybe I'll use it for gardening. Anyway, moving on. Mark Point says, I've also heard that 13th gen isn't looking all that great. Well, from what I've seen very briefly of it, it does look particularly promising. Much more cache through each of the levels, more cores, and basically using less energy. So I don't know. I think it's looking good so far, but I could be wrong. It's happened before. Rick H, $20 for your Intel 13th gen build. Cheers. That would be awesome. A 13th gen, 13th gen should be officially announced, I believe, October. But it's like one of those, it's like the worst kept secret in the world that is coming out. Whether or not they're actually going to be on the shelves in October, or whether or not they're just going to announce it in October, I don't know. But thank you, Rick H, for the contribution. And now I have no choice but to buy a 13th gen processor when they are available. Although me being the cheapskate I am, is probably going to be a 13100, just like that. Which might be, I've got a sneaky suspicion, that is a 6-core, 12-thread part. But thank you for that, young Rick. Did I come up on there? Why is it not coming up on there? Work, you bloody stupid thing. Maybe if I bought a more expensive computer, that would work properly. Is it raining out? No, it's just getting dark. Lamy says, I'm waiting for the new Ryzen series. Looks promising. It does. It definitely does. All of the new stuff coming out does look promising, but until we actually get it in the hands of reviewers and consumers like myself, it's really going to be hard work. Stuart Cleary says, Mike, you should grow a beard. Seems to be trending now on YouTube. I don't like a beard. I really don't. I don't mind a goatee, but a beard, I don't really, no. I'd much rather grow hair on my head. That would be awesome, but sadly that isn't a thing. Stuart Cleary says, towards your 4090. Oh no, now I'm going to have to buy a 4090. You bastard. Thank you. Thank you for your kind donation. Frecklepuni says, I prefer tech deals in his early days. A lot of channels start off in a certain direction and they morph into something very different. Tech deals very much is one of those that, obviously tech deals was based on getting the best value for money parts and building PCs that you possibly could. There was a definite crossover period when COVID kicked in, and you could see it happening slightly before then, that the Tech Deals channel went off in a very different direction and became more kind of more newsy, like just reporting PC stuff rather than actually reviews and kind of builds and stuff, or build guides, because there was nothing you could buy. Things were getting really short, everything was super expensive, and that obviously deteriorated over the last 2.5 years to a point where if I was a gambling person, which I'm generally not, I would say that tech probably burnt out, had some sort of breakdown and just couldn't face the camera. And I got to be honest with you, I've come very close to that on numerous occasions. It happens all the time. If you're someone who is in the public eye, whatever, you're a content creator or something, you always have this kind of thing in the back of your mind that you have to like stay on top of things. So you have to be kind of confident, professional, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff in front of the camera. It's part and parcel of the way that YouTube works. Because if I was just sat here and I was like terrified, you probably wouldn't want to watch it. It's not the nicest thing to watch. So you do have to kind of almost maintain a persona. Not you're not being fake as such, but if you're feeling a little bit down, you try not to let that show on camera. You could be having a real shit day, and then you've been reviewing stuff, your PC's gone wrong, it's been crashing, you've got all this stuff, and you're way behind schedule. You've got things you plan to do, the kids are screaming, the cats are pissing and shitting everywhere. You're having a bitch of a day, a real bitch of a day. And yeah, sometimes you have to kind of like just smile and get on with it. And at times that can get really, really hard to do. So I feel for the guy, if that is the case, which I'm kind of guessing it possibly is. The whole beard thing, and he doesn't look his usual kind of self. And that is really quite a, I wouldn't say a key thing, but it's normally a contributing factor if you're suffering from any form of depression. Now, I've been there, I've had depression, I've had bouts of it for many years. Luckily, thankfully, over the last kind of 5 years or so, probably, well, 4 years maybe, I've been considerably better. And I've made certain changes in my lifestyle to try and counteract that other stuff, which creeps in for some people. And it does a little bit to me every now and then, but I would keep on top of it. But the whole beard thing, kind of letting yourself go a little bit, it's almost a telltale thing. It's like you just can't be bothered. But if you're on YouTube or something, then you carry on, but you don't really want to, or you haven't got the motivation. Loads of people go through it. Loads of people go through it. I should acknowledge the super chat. Thank you, O'Reilly, for the super chat. Stay as you are, Mike. We love you as you are. Bless you, O'Reilly. That's super kind. O'Reilly, stay as you are as well, because you're one of the good guys. There's another. Oh, Matthew Day. It's come in with a £2 contribution towards the 4090 electricity bill. I just thought to myself, actually, I've just had, I didn't bother shaving yesterday, and I don't think no, was it today or yesterday? Yeah, last 2 days I haven't shaved. And I was just thinking then, as I was just saying that, about the first sign of depression is the beard, and it's like, oh God, I've got a bit of stubble there. I'm so rush. I'm not, I'm okay, I'm fine. Thank you, Matthew, for your contribution towards the 4090 bill. And Glenn, you cheeky git, Glenn's come in with $2.99 and says for a beard cone. Thank you very much. Oh, and another one, Dave Aiken. Oh, fuck's sake. David Aiken with £1.79 for some beard oil. This is not going to happen. It's going to go. I won't do it tomorrow. Stuart Cleary says, Mike, if you ever feel that, just take time off live streams. We all need a break. To be honest with you, I would say every single Saturday, literally every single Saturday, I get that apprehension and that kind of like the dread of having to do a live stream. Now you're probably thinking, like, why are you dreading it? If you're dreading it, why are you doing it? It's because it's like, how can I guess it's like when you were at school and you were in the school play and you had a part and you didn't really want to do the part because you're a little bit kind of introverted or a little bit shy or lack confidence or whatever. But then you built it all up and you're terrified about it. But then come the day, you did the school play, you did your bit, you banged your triangle, you played as a tree.
One thing after another.
It was one thing after another on that triangle. Yeah, it's... you do it and then you get off the stage and then you go off and your mum or dad give you a hug or whatever and say, oh, well done, you were great, and buy you a bar of chocolate or something. And it's that kind of, that thing. So you get that, the fear thing, or the kind of the, not the fear, it's probably the wrong word. Maybe it is fear. Fear and self-doubt, I suppose it is as well. We all have that thing in the back of our mind, like imposter syndromes, like I'm not good enough, I can't do this, people do it better, etc. But then you actually do it. Clearly people enjoy it because there's like 82 of you watching this currently, and the video will probably get a good couple of thousand views anyway. So there's definitely someone out there somewhere in the hundreds of thousands of people that watch YouTube that actually enjoy it. So yeah, I shouldn't be that bothered about it. And I think most of you actually, because you like being part of a community and just hanging out with us, especially since the COVID days when everyone's been a little bit more retracted, it's nice to have a little bit of an outlet. So even if I just came on here and said basically nothing about tech stuff and just had a chat with you guys, like almost like we're in a massive pub, yeah, like what I'm doing now, you'd still tune in because it's kind of, you're part of a community and you're able to say things to me, I'm able to react to them, and it's all pretty cool. Apprehension is probably the one. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Captain Meets Adventures has just renewed his membership. He's been a member for 9 months.
Renewed it, and he's just written a message.
Oh, sorry, no, that is, you get a free message, don't you? Over 30 million views should tell you a story, Mike. 30 million views is that how many we've had? Have we had 30 million views?
Probably.
I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive. So there's 30 million people out there that have accidentally clicked on the link. Bless them. Frecklepuni says quality should come before quantity. Best to do a quality stream less often rather than burning yourself out. There is very much a point. I definitely wouldn't do a live stream daily or more than once a week. Once a week I think is probably enough. Sometimes if it's... Oh, your cat's stuck, Babs. She's got her claw stuck.
Okay.
Sorry, cat emergency. Maisie has got her claw stuck in the UPVC window frame. How did you even do that? Hey ho. Anyway. Jeff Watson says, your lives are always worth watching. Just a shame I forget to turn up late every week. Never mind.
We saved her.
Better late than never. Maisie's been saved. Maisie?
So where she scratches the window to let you know she wants to come in.
Simply not interested. Mark Point says, wait, what? Is this a tech channel? Lol, I thought you were just here to talk. I am. It's
And show cats.
I am here for social care reasons. I'm employed by YouTube to look after you lot on a Saturday night and make sure that you're behaving. Captain Me's Adventures says, I'd rather watch this low-grade, low-brow, so-called entertainment than Shagging Island or celebrity pooing in their pants on TV. I take that as a compliment, I think. David Aiken says, I'm pretty sure we've helped 30 million people on Discord to flash their BIOS. Yes, although we might be able to split that up. So 30 million people, well, maybe 15 million with BIOS flash and the other 15 million with not being able to install their Radeon graphics card drivers. I think there's a reasonable split there. Kenny D, he's found love and what's he gonna do with it? Sorry. Kenny D, I really look forward to these streams on a Saturday night. I'm glad one of us does. Oh dear. Atypical Male says, any ideas on how I can air cool the 2080 Ti I bought for $430? It came with a water block, but I don't have the parts necessary. To be honest with you, actually getting hold of a air cooler, depending which model it is, if it's a reference one, it'll be very easy to do. But if not, your best bet is just go onto eBay or Craigslist or Craigslist, as you call it in America. Why do they call it Craigslist in America when it's Craig? I don't understand.
I think that's how they pronounce Craig, isn't it?
Oh, what? That's how you pronounce Craig? Crag. Okay.
I think.
Americans, weird. Yeah, I would look on eBay or Craigslist or something like that. You'd probably find one relatively easily. Because a lot of people will probably take off their air cooler in order to go water cooling. And potentially you could even recover some of your money from the water block by selling it. Frecklepuni says, cat stuck, I feel a Mrs. Slocum joke coming on. Best not to. Oh dear. Calf's looking, he's like,
I don't get that.
Mrs. Slocum from Open All Hours.
I
No, not Open All Hours,
Never watched it.
Are You Being Served?
Didn't watch it.
She was the one with the purple hair. And she was saying things like, because she had a cat, and she's always saying, oh, I've lost my pussy. And I think, J. Rich says 30,658,327 views is brilliant. Well done, Mike and Cav. Thank you very much. Mark Point says saving lives one beer at a time. Or tea. There is that to it. O'Reilly says a tech channel. Really, I thought this was a Bristolian pub and Mike is the landlord, which has a bold Bristolian going on a rant sometimes. That's pretty much. I want one day to have a TV game show or just a set, and it is Mike's Unbox Inn. Basically a pub called the Mike's Unbox Inn. It's a play on words. So it's a pub, but it's an inn, because that's an old-fashioned word for a pub. So Mike's Unbox Inn, as in I'm unboxing in the inn, a pub. And we basically get to unbox things and give things away, but in order to win the things we give away, you have to complete challenges whilst pissed in the pub beer garden.
On a live stream.
On a live stream. So, do you want to win the latest 4090 Ti? Well, join the queue. There are 5 pissheads in the garden currently spinning around a pole and have got to now run a straight line to the graphics card without falling over or puking. Who's going to win? Let's see. Will it be Dave Aiken? There will be others, obviously. But Dave will definitely be there. But I think that would be great. Captain Me's Avenger says, Mike, I got told you have to do these streams as part of Bell conditions. It's not an Apple Watch, it's my tag. Yeah, it'll start going off soon. Glenn, yeah, that's a good idea actually. Atypical Male, check out the Arctic Acceleros or the Regentech Morpheus. Both are good aftermarket air coolers for GPUs. Freckle Puny says the Americans pronounce Colin colon. That could get like way out of hand. Yeah. We're having a go at Americans, aren't we? David Underhill says one advantage of watching this in Australia, it's Sunday morning. Good morning to you. Why do Yanks call it soldering? I've been soldering for years. Yes, I noticed that often they call it soldering. It's like soldering. It's different. Sodding is a different thing altogether. Going back to Collins.
I like
Sorry,
how
I'm reading questions here.
say eczema. That's so cool. It's so much nicer sounding.
William Bodie says, can you do the show stroke stream next week? I would love to. I would love to be able to do the Mike's Unbox In game show and host it. I think we'd give Mr. Beast a run for his money. Definitely would. It'd be hilarious. It would generally be hilarious. Mike's Unboxed In, win a graphic card but lose a liver. Yeah. Oh dear, that would be fun. Not losing liver, that's clearly not fun. Winning a graphics card, that'd be good. Captain Meese Adventures, in the quiz, can we have celebrities dressed in suits of bacon and they have to avoid crocodiles, lions, tigers and bears? I think we should actually do it with, what are they called? Politicians. And we'll do it with politician deathmatch. And we'll have them fighting against creatures, but yeah, with some serious meat attached to them as well. Oh dear.
What a waste of meat.
I missed something there, but there we go. RT Fucks. Wow, That's there's me.
You didn't expect that to come out sounding like
I didn't
that,
think
did
it was
you?
an account like no. That's shit. There goes the monetization.
What's his name?
Artifau. Let's call him Artifau. It's probably, is it Artifau?
No.
It is. Yeah, the other one. Can't say that. The Unpersoning has just joined as a YouTube member. Thank you very much. And for that, you will get early access to videos, which may or may not be beneficial to you. Please feel free to comment on them. Andre says, liver, what's that? Liver is basically the thing that keeps you alive. Think of an air filter on a car, or an oil filter. It's basically that. Between your liver and your kidneys, without those two, you're basically effed. So, actually, when you, say for instance you smell something, by the time you've smelt it, your liver has processed it. That's how fast it reacts. And taste as well. Taste buds into your liver, and it starts doing stuff. It's clever shit.
If you do an enema, it takes 3 minutes for your liver to recirculate all your blood, isn't it? Cleans all your blood.
Yeah, it's a cleanser. Mark Point says, Mr. Beast, now that's one fake-ass YouTuber I don't like. I can tolerate Mr. Beast a little bit. I think it does kind of cater towards a certain kind of demographic, but probably shouldn't say that because it's maybe slightly derogatory, but it is kind of very much, I will do stupid shit and give you money to watch it, which kind of is against YouTube's terms and conditions, but they seem to promote the shit out of it, so let them get on with it.
Oh yeah, I get that now.
What that?
Captain Meat, I always have adventures with meat, and he does.
He does. Captain Meat's Adventures does have meat adventures. Matthew Day says, bring on the wall. I could be like a very uncamp Dale Winton. I got a tan for it. Is he dead? He's dead, isn't he?
Is he?
Is Dale Winton dead? Yeah, I'm sure he's dead. Otherwise, we could dig him in, get him in for.
Hedge, didn't you, one summer?
I did hold in the hedge, yeah.
When you were helping Maisie conceive flame.
Where are we? Old Man Wither says, I've had both the Sapphire Plus 6500 XT, which seems to be better built. I did like the Sapphire Pulse, although I didn't like the red accents on it. Which is always a stupid thing, because you shouldn't really get hung up about seeing that sort of stuff, but anyway.
Artifacts up a bit.
Mike Q Artifau. There we go, Artifau. I want to buy a new PC and I have a question. Is a Sapphire Pulse Radeon RX 6500 XT better than an RX 6500 XT mech, or is it the same? Realistically, I think pretty much every single 6500 XT performs identically. I don't think there's any difference in them whatsoever. The only main differences that I've seen on any of them is kind of the fan setup and possibly a little bit of RGB. Other than that, they are all within kind of. What did I test? I tested the Asus versus the Sapphire. I'm pretty sure they performed identically. There was like 1 or 2 frames per second in it. There was nothing in it at all, really. I think I did anyway. Maybe do a search on our channel for RX 6500 XT. I'm relatively sure I did do that, or it's a video that I started doing benchmarks for, and then I realised they were so close together that it was basically pointless. Where are we? Hopefully that answers your question a little. Unpersoning says, you're welcome, one of my fave channels. I'm usually on my Jibby Jabby account. But I use Advanced on that one. Right, got you, Jibby Jabby. I know you are now. It's so confusing when there's so many people and they all using different names. It's hard enough remembering someone's real name, let alone a pseudonym.
And then they're different again on Discord.
Captain Me's Adventure says, let's be fair, Mike's TV quiz would make Bullseye look like Mastermind, and we will all love it. I think the Mike's unboxing has definitely got some mileage in it. I wish I could get a local TV company to basically just do a pilot and try and get some companies involved. It would be absolutely amazing. It would be like the Great British Bake Off, but with loads of booze and graphics cards. How cool would that be? Oh dear. Captain White says I'd get the Pulse over the mech always. I think for most cards that would be probably, yeah, worthwhile doing. For the 6500 XT, they are so close in terms of performance. I don't think it makes a difference. I could be completely wrong. I've not used the mech, so I don't know. The mech fans are generally quite good and quite quiet, which is something which is maybe going to come into it. Best RC says, what are your thoughts on the ThinkPad T4800 for 250 quid for general web browsing, Netflix and office tasks? No hardcore gaming. I'll be honest with you, I don't know the specs of the ThinkPad T480, so I cannot answer that one, I'm afraid. That'd be something I would need to look into. Dutch Jan says the Red Devil clocks higher. Milch Monsters with us says, hi folks. Captain White says it's less important on the lower voltage cards, but the Pulse will have a better heatsink. Fair dues. Captain Meat says, I have the first question for the quiz. Actually, I shouldn't. You shouldn't
read it before reading it.
Let me read it first, because Captain Meat...
Hilarious. I think you're alright.
Captain Meats, I have the first question for the quiz. What is a WAN, a LAN and a PAN? LAN and WAN are computer things, and a PAN is what Pauline Fowler hit Arthur with.
Oh, Cosmic Bird.
Yes. Hey, it's Cosmic Space Monkey. Muffin. I always get that wrong.
That's his little...
50 Norwegian Coroners. Says, hello, Mike and Kath. I'm kind of back. Well, we're kind of glad to have you.
Cosmic Space Pants.
Cosmic Space Muffin. Bless you, sir. Freckle Puny says it, but Mike, if a pilot was commissioned, they'd replace you with Matt Lucas. Bastards. They probably would.
You could have stood in for him in Doctor Who.
I could have done. That would have been excellent. Glenn says, poor Sob's never the same. He wasn't. Rally says, so Mike's TV quiz would be the tech version of Love Island, but without all of the bare flesh, search for love and contestants with idiot personalities. There gives my chance to be a contestant. Oh, bless you, Raleigh. You'd be a contestant. David Underhill's there saying about the mech RX 6600 XT. Think it'd be better than the cheaper plain models. I had to wind up the clock speed. I had to wind the clock speed back to standard for it to work. Milch Monster says, hey Mike, my new RX 5700 has a lot of loud coil whine. Can I do anything about it, or is a refund better? With coil whine can be caused by many things. Bad capacitors, or ones which are not soldered in or placed on the board properly. That can be it. Some boards inherently whine like crazy. There was, I think it was the 3070s and 3070 Ti's possibly. They were really well known for it. You can also get it from your power supply. Some power supplies will just do it, depending on what graphics card it is. You plug it in, and it's like a resonance thing. And because it's oscillating or doing whatever it does, it's such a high frequency. If the power supply frequency isn't kind of balanced or matched or whatever it is, sometimes that can cause a problem. I have seen coil whine disappear completely by changing the power supply. Now, I'm not saying that is 100% going to do it, because it could just be a manufacturing defect, could be a genuine fault, could be anything. But I would definitely try, if you can, using either a different power supply, or even if you can, try using like Molex connectors with an 8-pin connector to power the power supply, and just run it off the Molex, which might run off a different circuit on the power supply. Definitely worth trying if you want to keep hold of the card. Alternatively though, there's not a great deal you can do. Some people have had limited success with a dollop of basically silicone, like the stuff used for sealing in baths and toilets and sinks and stuff. You can use a little dab of that, and some people have found that it kind of numbs the noise a little bit, or stops whatever it is from vibrating, although again, very kind of limited how well that works, especially with more modern capacitors or coils and chokes and stuff. So yeah. Oh yeah, Cosmic saying there PSU. It is quite possibly.
And we need folks for more funny suggestions of questions.
It is. Ugly Bob is on holiday. Oh dear, I'm going to have to read that one out. Another question is, I have a floppy, a slot and a storage device. Who am I? Prince Andrew. Ba-boom. Allegedly. Are we still allowed to say allegedly now? Or have we got to not say allegedly? Being that he's paid out, kind of. I don't know.
Who paid out? We did, didn't
Oh yeah. Milch Monster, I'll swap out the PSU then. It's probably a good shout, to be honest with you. Welly Bob's come in with a £5 super chat. Thank you, Welly Bob. Thanks for the tip for PCIe to Force Gen 3 on my Tomahawk B450 for the 3060 Ti. Now that's actually quite an interesting one, which some of you might actually benefit from, especially if you're building PCs or maybe upgrading. It's definitely going to be a bigger issue as time goes on. I feel it happening in my water. Come on. There we go. If you didn't know already, B450 boards in general are PCI Express Gen 3, as are some of the new Ryzen processors, such as the 5500 and the 4100, I think there's another one as well. There's a few others. But there's quite a lot of processors now and motherboards which are still running PCI Express Gen 3. So if you're putting on a more modern graphics card, one that runs at PCI Express Gen 4 speeds, most motherboards have got a BIOS setting which says auto. But if you're experiencing problems, it could be because of the way that Gen 4 signaling works with Gen 3. So effectively Generation 4 is kind of like, has double the connects. So it requires a much more accurate signal, whereas PCI Express Gen 3 boards, although physically can take it, they won't always... Thanks, Mabes. They won't always be able to give a clean enough signal. So in that case you get degradation, you get feedback, and potentially you could have other things on your board go a bit crazy, such as SATA drives disappear, NVMe drives drop off, all those kinds of weird things. So it's definitely worth going into your BIOS and making sure that you do set your PCI Express for your graphics card to the specific generation that your motherboard supports, rather than the card. And that way you can solve all kinds of issues, as we did with Welly Bob's server, which was dropping SATA drives. And because SATA drives were controlled by the chipset, which in turn uses a PCI Express link to the processor, which in turn links to the graphics card, because the signaling wasn't on, basically it fixed that, so that was all good. Tristan says, how much performance boost will I get from upgrading PCI Express Gen 3 to Gen 4 with my RX 6600 non-XT? I don't think it makes a great difference on the 6600 from what I recall. I think it's kind of single digit performance. It's always nice if you can to have the Gen 4, but if you've got a motherboard that's only got Gen 3, then kind of replacing a motherboard for the sake of it, unless, again, like you're experiencing problems. If you're experiencing problems and you just want to resolve them and you're thinking about getting another motherboard anyway, then yeah, definitely get it. But otherwise, I would just maybe just kind of just set your PCI Express Gen to Gen 3 on the board and it will know that it's a Gen 3 and it won't try and overload the system. I don't think that card actually uses enough bandwidth. Because PCI Express, is it a ×8 slot on there or is it ×16? I've got a sneaking suspicion the 6600 is a ×8 link. Could be wrong. I need to look into that. Maybe message me or join in our Discord and I'll try and look into that a bit further. I'm not entirely sure if it is a PCI Express Gen 4 ×8 on that card. I'm not really that one, Captain Meat. Tristan's with us, says, hi, Kath. Hi, what about me?
You just
oh, yeah, I just answered the question, sorry. Pitboy83 says, love the Yoda style quote on the chalkboard. I did update it when Windows 11 came out. Where are we? No problem, Tristan. Glad it's helped. What else? There's something else I was going to talk about tonight. It's really put me off my stride not having that case from Gamemax, the bastards. What else was I going to say? Oh, that's right, the Gelid cooler. I was going to have a quick look at the Gelid cooler because, bless them, they've sent it all the way over from wherever. I don't know where they are. Gelid, I'm guessing, are Sweden or something, or I don't even know where Gelid are actually.
Actually got the box, haven't we? It should say on there.
Tell you what, I'll just drop it. That's easier. Oh, this is from Italy. Gelid, are they Italy? They're not Italy.
Hong Kong Post.
Oh, they've sent from Hong Kong. So they've sent a fan from Italy, from Hong Kong,
It says Hong Kong
back
China.
to us. They're from Hong Kong. Made in China. So maybe it's Hong Kong. That says Italy as well. Importer stroke RV via Vittorio Veneto. Sounds like an ice cream company in Italy.
Quantum.
Oh.
Hong Kong.
Right, let's have a look at this cooler. So this is the new Gelid Tranquillo, now in revision 5. We actually reviewed the revision 4 or 3 not that long ago. It was kindly sent to us by Wild Bill. Wild Bill! And it was a pretty decent cooler. So this is kind of what I would consider a mid-range cooler. It's clearly going to be an upgrade from most stock coolers and is very reminiscent, I would say personally, of, in terms of styling, I would say the Vitro V5 and this are actually quite similar, although this is quite narrow and it is completely symmetrical. So yeah, actually I've got a Vitro V5. I'm just going to check it because those fans look the same. Yes, Kath?
Quick question, unpersoning. If you add more RAM, does it have to be the same make?
If you add more RAM, it doesn't have to be the same make, but it is beneficial if you can. Not all RAM sticks are created equally. Because they're at such a high frequency and all that kind of good stuff, if you get one which isn't at the right frequency or is slightly off, you can actually degrade your performance, which is never a good look. Where is the Vitro V5? There we go, Vitro V5. Actually, I thought the Vitro V5 might have 5 heat pipes.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to look what I'm doing. So comparison-wise, I'm guessing the Vitro V5 is going to be in a similar price point. I'm pretty sure this is a 5 heat pipe. Maisie, go away. Oh yeah, yeah, it is. The Vitro V5 is definitely bigger. But then bigger isn't always better. In terms of, well, I suppose there's hardly anything in it. So, in terms of height,
Come back up.
or width rather, it's kind of very similar. The gelid is slightly taller, so you can have a few more extra fins on there. So yeah, you get an extra heat pipe. It is narrower by a very, very small margin. So arguably I would say there's probably more weight and more density to the Vitro V5. But if you need a bit more space, I suppose, that being a bit taller does potentially hinder cases that you can put in. What's that, 165mm height? Where are we? Yeah. No. That's the Vitro. So the Vitro is 148mm. So the Vitro V5 is actually quite compact. Whereas this is going to be, what, 154. So what was I saying, that was 147. 148. So yeah, a couple of millimeters in it. There isn't actually a lot in it. So it's still quite compact. 160 is kind of like the normal average for 120mm tower coolers in general. So yeah, let's get rid of the Vitro actually for a minute. In inches, I have no idea. Normally divide it by about 3. That kind of works. I'm not very good at sums. Main kind of differences now, they've upgraded the fluid dynamic bearing in the actual fan itself. It doesn't have any RGB, which is something which Gelid have always kind of, I wouldn't say steered away from, but it's kind of been one of their signature things that they do, like black stealthy coolers, at least the more modern ones anyway. And the fan itself, clips, so I bet these clips are super tight. Oh, not too bad. So you can, if you want to, move up the cooler just a little. Let's move that up on that side. I can never get these on to be exactly the same height. Well, actually, that's not a bad job. I think that's pretty level. So you can raise it up a little bit. If you've got any RAM clearance issues, you can raise it slightly. A little bit of a heatsink on the cold plate. Let's have a look at the base plate. Base plate's actually finished nicely. That is almost a kind of, that is actually, feels very smooth. It feels like my head when it's been shaved. That is skull shaver smooth. So yeah, they've finished that really nicely. If that, yeah, the thing doesn't want to come off, which is always good. And assuming that it's flat, which hopefully it would be, let's get something which I assume to be flat. Yeah, in terms of flatness, obviously you'd need a micron meter or something, or something of that nature to be absolutely 100% positive. But normally you can tell if these are bad because you can see daylight through them. And this seems to be sitting flush, from what I can tell, at every angle. So that's always a good sign. Flatter is the better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out. They have kind of been looking at their range, and they don't want to go down the whole RGB route because there's people out there who just don't want to do RGB. But what they've done is they've actually got the Zodiac fan, which is new to them. And this essentially you can use to replace the fan which is on here. It doesn't come with it, it is kind of optional extra, but it's based on the same technology, blah, 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 fluid dynamic bearing, 1800 RPM I think is the maximum. And what is, no sorry, I lied, this one is 1600 RPM. My eyes are getting better, I can actually read that, that's impressive. So basically, yeah, an RGB fan. Actually the scoops on there, that's actually passing through quite a lot of air.
Look at your hair going.
Yeah, look at my hair and my nose. You've got obviously 4-pin PWM control, which you expect, 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB, and also a pass-through, which is very common these days. Design-wise, it looks exactly the same, the frame, as the one which is included on there. So what you could possibly do if you wanted to, because you can put 2 fans on this, you could maybe put the RGB one on the front and have the standard one on the back. because you're not going to see the lights there anyway. So if you do want to do that, you could do that and have it in a push-pull configuration, which I'm actually quite pleased that you can do, because that essentially then turns it into an Arctic Freezer 34 Esports. What is that? So that's, yeah, 1600 RPM as well. So they will be essentially perfectly matched. They have got exactly the same fan blades from what I can see. Doesn't appear to be any difference. So they do, yeah, that matches up pretty much 100%. So you could do that. It's actually quite a good idea, because you don't really want to have two RGB fans. It's pointless. Some people might not want to have any RGB fans, which is totally down to the individual. But what I do like about this is how slimline it is. How thin that is. It's not about the width, it's about the quality. And that is just over 40 mil. So 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches in width. So that is really small, really small. So you shouldn't have any issues with VRMs. And actually, the fin stack at the bottom, they've started quite high up as well. So there's a nice bit of gap at the bottom. So you shouldn't have any problems with RAM. Clearly, we will be doing an install on this. It does come with all the fixtures and fittings, obviously, as you expect. They've got a... Actually, this is... I'm going to clear the desk a little bit so you can see what this is actually like. But the fitting kit is actually really good, and they've not used a ton of crap that you don't necessarily need, which I'm always very thankful of, because there's nothing worse than when you're trying to install something like this and you're like, oh my god, there's so many parts, I'm going to have to watch a YouTube video to install this. Now, even someone like, clearly I've had a little bit of experience of installing coolers, but every now and then you do get to the point where you look at it in the box and you're like, what the actual do you want me to do with this? So you've got obviously your Intel setup. So this now works with, they've made a really cool adjustment on there, so it just slides along. So that'll do everything from LGA 775 all the way up to LGA 1700 and arguably 1800, because that's going to be on the same socket. So yeah, that's very straightforward. So two of those, almost impossible to go wrong with that. Then the other option is going to be your AM4, AM3, AM5 as well, arguably. So that goes with the notches facing outward. Again, almost impossible to get wrong. All the springs and screws and that are pre-installed and ready to go. So you don't have to worry about that. Literally, it's only a matter of 4 screws, little tiny screws in there to attach. Take that off of there. Stick that on there. That way there, screw into it.
Now you've gone and got him.
Yeah, now I've actually gone and got it. So actually, yeah, which way does that go? That is something which I do need to check. Shit. See, that's something they could have made a little bit more obvious. I hate it when they do that. Let's have a look. Screws, Barney McGree. Right, so I can't even see that. Why do they make these so small?
I thought your eyes were improving.
I know, it is. I did have it right. My intuition served me well, young Skywalker. So you put that on there, put the screws down through, which I guess makes perfect sense. Yeah, nice and easy. And you can get access to the screws or the bits each side of the heatsink, so you don't have to worry about kind of weird screwdrivers or anything. And when that's in the AM4 position, which is going to be a little bit wider anyway, he says. So yeah, that is going to be, well, hopefully you can see that. Very easy to get to the screws when you need to screw it all up. So that is, yeah, very cool. For the Intel side of things, if you're using Intel, they do give you a back plate. But that is very easy to kind of maneuver and manage. You just click it into the appropriate position. All the way out to the end is going to be for your LGA 1700, because as currently that is the biggest of the slots. Next one in is going to be your 1200s. Then going again is going to be your 115X and 1366, I think. And then on the very inside one is going to be 775. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Really nice and clicky. Does what it needs to do. None of those daft things where you have to put a pin in and lock it in position, all that sort of stuff. And it's just plastic, so there's no extra wasted metal, so if you don't need it, whatever, keep it. Comes with the Gelid's GC1 Extreme, I think it is, or GC1 Pro. Didn't actually look at that. GC Pro. Nice little thing of GC Pro there, and also a plastic spatula, which I'm a big fan of, as you well know. I will lose in the bottom of my cup. I need a smaller cup, or actually I'm going to drill a hole in that, and I'm going to put like a nail in the wall somewhere and have it on the wall. That would make life a lot easier. I will drill it with my DeWalt. So anyway, yeah, Tranquillo. I don't think it would be a good match against something like the 5800X, which is just a ridiculous beast of a processor. Why AMD thought that the 5800 was a good idea, I will never grasp. It's just insane. That processor is insane. It's just ridiculously hot. It kind of almost has to be undervolted, or you just live with temperatures which are way in excess of what you're used to with AMD. It's very, and actually going on to Intel's 12th gen, just testing the 12100, when you look at the idle temperatures and the kind of like the in-use temperatures, you realise that AMD have been kind of using way too much power for a long time now. Did I say that the 12100 was idling at something like 5 to 10 watts? That's just mental. Absolutely mental. Their speed step technology is, yeah, bang on. It really is. Right, let's pack that away. So anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to testing this out. I'm not entirely sure what would be a fair test, to be honest with you. I'm guessing, I don't even know the retail price of this yet. I've not had a look. If anybody wants to take a quick look for me now and let me know, I would be muchos gracias. But I'm not sure. I would guess the way things are at the moment, especially being with the import rates and import duties, arguably this has got to be, it's got to be 25, 30 quid.
What's it called?
Got to be. Gelid Tranquillo Rev 5. Oh, that's at the bottom already. Oh, I didn't put the fan back on. Actually, I just noticed it doesn't come with extra fan clips. That sucks. There goes my idea. Welly Bob says, test it on the 5800X, Mike. I don't think that would be a good idea. I think it would be overwhelmed quite quickly, like most 120mm tower coolers are. Although, I've got to be honest, I am tempted to do that, because it is a good test. And actually, quite a few people this week, bizarrely, some of you may have seen the Silentium PC water cooler that we reviewed, which I'll be honest, I actually quite like. I thought it was a very good cooler, did the job nicely, looked nice, easy to install. Easy to install was one of the key things in my mind. So yeah, I was really pleased with that. But there's a lot of people in the comments saying that like I shouldn't have tested it against the Fortis 5. Like, if it's only as good as an air cooler, what is the point? Now the point is, obviously, water cooling is one of those things where it's generally done by enthusiasts. Most normal people won't use water cooling because realistically there isn't much point unless you're going for a complete loop, much like Aletta and people like that, where you're going to see some seriously tangible differences. Why have I put away two lots of balls? Yeah, you'll see there is a big difference between using an AIO and using a full-on loop. Oh dear, losing the plot now. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, the Fortis 5 was one of the few air coolers which actually manages to keep the 5800 actually cool and in a controlled fashion, which is obviously what you want. So that was the reason why I tested against it. Or
$35 from Jelly himself. I can't see it anywhere else.
$35 from Jelly. That's a bit spicy. That is a bit spicy. I know it's a really difficult thing at the moment because everything is going up in price. It's very hard to compare things, and even things like recently I've been looking at cases, because obviously you do. Cases are something which a lot of you like watching videos on, and I like doing videos on, so I always keep a bit of an eye on cases. And even the budget cases, which were budget cases, are getting to the point where once they've sold out, they're not budget cases anymore. There's been, what was it? Oh, the Corsair, the 4000D, which used to be about 60 quid, the non-RGB version. And actually, I think even the RGB version was only 80 at some points, but now it's like 100 and something for the RGB version, and the non-RGB is like £84. So when did that creep up? So cases are definitely getting more expensive. Obviously, as production costs are incurred, like shipping and stuff, it's going to have a knock-on effect. Clearly, it has to. But can they just not do it now? Can they do it in another lifetime? Because it's really starting to piss me off. And everything's just too expensive. I actually do unboxings on a YouTube channel, you know, and I cannot get this back in the box. Save my life. Oh, have I put the wrong ones in there now? Nope, that's got loads of bits in it. So that is the V-tray. I do unboxing, not reboxing. I'm less good at that. Tell them, Kath. Right, let's have a look, see what you lot have been saying about that then. Captain White says, can't see the Rev 5 in stock. Rev 4 is about 29 bucks. Or 29 pounds. Ordinary Dude says, the V-tray V5 worked fine on the 5800X I tinkered with. That's interesting. I would like to see how it goes. Captain White says, I'm thinking of getting the 5700X, which has a 6500 watt TDP. Seems to perform well given the low power consumption versus the 5800X. Thoughts? Yeah, the 5700X I think is just a lower clock speed, isn't it? From well, lower frequency, lower TDP. I think it makes sense. Ordinary Dude says, yeah, the V5 has the brackets for the second fan, so I might be stealing those. SC343 says, hey Mike, I have a Ryzen 5 5600G. I bought it to use the integrated graphics in the time I was saving for a discrete GPU. Now I bought one, should I change my CPU for a 5700X? Yeah, I guess it's not really a case of should you, it's more a case of could you. Now clearly, if you've got a 5600G, the G part is wasted in your system at the moment. So they've got a relatively good resale value. So I would be tempted to sell the 5600G, or if you've got the possibility, build a little system and sell it on as a system to help fund your 5700. Now it depends what region you're in and how much money you're going to get for the 5600G. If you've got like a family member or something that you can pass it on to, maybe think about doing it that way. Realistically, you don't really need to. It's going to depend on your graphics card. If your graphics card is being held back by the processor, then yeah, maybe it's something worth looking into. But realistically, most Ryzen 5 processors, even from the Ryzen 5 1600, doesn't have a huge impact until you get past a certain level of graphics card. Captain White says there's severe lack of budget cases at the moment. You are not wrong. Yes, it is. Looking at budget cases at the moment is horrendous. There's pcgamingcases.co.uk. They've got a pretty good selection of Ions cases and CIT, some Antec as well. I quite like the look of the Antec Draco. That's an interesting one to me at the moment. Ions do the Curo. There's a KZ24. I like the look of that. That's cheap. And also the Ions, I think it's a Curo, which is based loosely on the old Neutron Labs Galaxy W07, which was a go-to case. James Brock's in the house. Energy be damned. I just cost $76.50 to fill up my truck with petrol yesterday. Well, I think you got off with it likely, young man.
Ours cost that before.
Yeah, ours cost that before COVID started. Tejo World says, can I be a mod? Easy answer, no. Stuart Cleary says, James Brock, we pay approximately double that in the UK and Ireland. Yeah. Fuel prices are not great. James Miscellaneous says, waiting for AM5 refresh to see about next new PC. AM5 refresh is going to be interesting. Tejo World, an easy answer to your question, can I be a mod, can I be a mod, can I be a mod, then why? I think you're... yeah, I think you've answered your own question by just being a moron in the chat. And generally, as a rule, most YouTubers don't have morons for mods. There are going to be exceptions to that rule, but generally, that's a kind of given. So maybe don't be a moron.
You do the math.
Yeah. You do the math. Oh dear. Anyway. James Museus says, figure it's just going to be a Zen 4 with stacked cache. The Zen 4 platform is going to be quite a mixed bag. So there's going to be your standard Zen 4, then there's going to be a Zen 4 stacked cache, and then there's going to be like a Zen 4 extreme range, which all apparently work on the same socket. I think, from what I've seen so far. Obviously that could all change, but that's the way it's looking. Touche, James. Yeah, I know what you mean now. So yeah, AM5 Zen 4 is going to be an interesting platform. I think there's going to be, well, because the chipset is basically the same chipset across the entire range, at least it seems to be. So the chipset which is going to be in the X670 is the same as the X670E or enhanced one, there's more of them. So I'm guessing it's going to be the same chipset through. There may be a cut down one as well. But yeah, it looks like it's all based around the same chipset, so that's kind of cool. Leo the best says GTX 1650 Super or 1660 Super, price gap is £70 on CX. Is it really worth it? Whew, that is a tough call. There is quite a big performance jump between the 1660 Super and the 1650 Super. I would say, I'm not sure what the total price is going to be. You can, well, yeah, CX is a funny place. You're probably going to pay a premium in there anyway because of the warranty. But 1660 Super, I probably wouldn't be wanting to spend more than, I guess, £200 on a used one with a warranty. If you're seriously looking for a card and you don't want to spend a great deal, and you don't mind taking a few risks, Facebook Marketplace is generally like a really good place to go at the moment. Some of the prices are getting very good. That's right, Jeff. Captain White says, I think I heard Zen 4C was more enterprise focused or something. Yeah, that's the idea I get. It's more like a not enthusiast. Yeah, enterprise I suppose was the word I should have used, not enthusiast. Captain White says the 1660 Super, yes, for the VRAM bump. Yeah, 1660 Super is 8 gigs, is that right? I'm not too sure on those.
6 gig is worth it. Somebody's put below.
That must be the 2060 Super, which was 8 gig then, up from 6 gigs in the 2060. No worries, Leo. Good luck. Happy shopping. Jeff says there's a RX 570 8 gig on Marketplace for 110 near me. Tempted. That's not a bad price. Bearing in mind that I bought a RX 480 8 gig for £150 not long ago off our son. Scammed by my own son. Bless him. He needs the money. Actually, no, he doesn't. Mark says it seems like AMD and Nvidia focusing more on enterprise stuff nowadays. They got to. Essentially, enterprise customers pay considerably more money, and also they pay for things like support as well, and warranties and extended warranties and all that sort of stuff. Whereas the kind of the retail market, the consumer market like us, we're a very, very small part of that pie. We're probably like 10%. So like to focus on your 10% market rather than your 90% market, which is far more profitable, is business sense. I know people slate them for being more focused on that, but if you're a business person, like effectively I'm a business person, I make YouTube videos aimed towards certain people and certain types of people, so it's pointless me aiming my content or doing content which isn't going to be valid to the watchers or viewers, because it's a waste of time and not profitable. Nick Barnes' question, are all AMD 500 boards Gen 4, as I saw a 570 advertised as Gen 3? X570 is PCI Express Gen 4. It also has Gen 3. No, hang on. No, it should be Gen 4 throughout. I'm just thinking my X570 board, the Asus one. Yeah, it's Gen 4. I think the secondary graphics port is Gen 3. Some of the... Do you know what? I've actually got to look. Where's the darn thing?
Also,
oh.
say about those polos.
Sorry?
Say about the polos.
What? Yeah, there we go. Tough Gaming. I knew I had it here somewhere. That's very handy. For those of you that are interested as well, from the first batch of polo shirts, there are currently left in stock only one 3XL. There's 3 in the large and there is 1 in the medium. So we've only got 5 shirts left from the initial batch. So if you would like a Mike's Unboxing polo shirt, like the one I'm not wearing currently.
I don't think we've seen a video of you wearing it
Fuck
yet.
that hurt. Did that get actual blood? No. Close though. Thick skin. I can smell toast. Am I having a stroke? I definitely smell toast or burning, or... Is the cat farted?
There's a cat in it. Must be it.
I smell burning. That'll be George. Okay. Right. PCI Express Gen... I bet it's not really going to say it on here, is it?
Captain White just ate some toast. Must be theirs.
Ah, that's what it is. No, it didn't say on there. I'm pretty sure it's PCI Express... The graphics card's PCI Express Gen 4. Maybe those are Gen 3. It's been such a long time since I've looked at this. I'm confused now because looking at the Intel 12th Gen, most of that stuff's Gen 4 as well. So let me have a quick look. I don't want to be giving you duff information. Where are we? Expansion slots. So... Oh no. Yeah, PCI Express Gen 4. So The top slot is a 16x4. The second one down is a PCI Express Gen 4 x 1, PCI Express times 4 times 16. Then a times 1, a times, basically they're all PCI Express Gen 4. So yeah, X570 boards should be, in theory then, all of them should be the same. Because they all run off the same chipset. Obviously if you use a PCI Express Gen 3 processor, they're going to default to the lower values. I do need to do another build in that with this board, but I'm not sure what to do. I am very tempted to ditch my MSI NAS at the moment and go with another ASUS build, even though I hate ASUS software. Let's grab my cup of tea.
Actually, I made you another.
James Brock says, I see I've stepped into an AMD laden discussion. We have been talking about basically Intel all evening, give or take. Captain White says, I think the X570 is dual PCI Express Gen 4. Yes, it does appear to be. David Underhill says, good point about targeting your target market. Too many YouTubers think everyone can afford a 3090 Ti in an i9 system with a custom loop cooling and a $400 case. Yes, which annoys the shit out of me. It really does. And you can tell how out of touch they are when someone like Jay's 2 Cents reviews like a $100 case and calls it a budget case. It's like, what planet do you live on where $100 is a budget case? Like, some of the viewers clearly are probably even buying a whole PC for $100. Don't be a knob. Jay, if you're watching, I mean it. The Jameses are in the house. James says that MSI Dragon will eat you. MSI is always better than ASUS. I don't know. I would say they trade blows in a lot of areas. In terms of actual quality of build, I think ASUS probably do have the upper hand. In general. Not overall, but in general, I think they definitely have the upper hand. Arguably, MSI would be the more budget-friendly alternative. And certainly MSI software is considerably better. Patrick LaBelle's with us, says good afternoon, evening peoples. James Brock says Intel for the win. Nick Barnes says, Calf, can I order a t-shirt in large, please? We have got some t-shirts as well, I think, in... T-shirts I've only got in extra large at the moment.
He's already got a t-shirt. I think he bought one already.
If you're on Discord,
yeah.
Message Kath in Discord.
I've said
directly.
on Discord.
Oh, right, yes, we said, okay. Cool.
We have got 2 extra large t-shirts, haven't we? But I think he's already got t-shirts.
Yeah. Ashley Strachan says, here, Mike. Sick to the back teeth of budget PC parts costing $100 plus. Yeah, it's just BS, isn't it? It really is. Oh god, that's flicked up way too many times. Captain White says, Mike, you should do a budget case roundup or a live website scan hunt for bargain cases. Definitely that's something I want to do, actually, because I am genuinely interested in cases. And I see way too many cases which are even cheap and even not cheap ones, which just leave so many of the kind of obvious home goals wide open. One of which is, for me personally, I feel that if a case doesn't have enough clearance above the motherboard to install fans easily, or a radiator and fans easily, I feel they're missing out there. I genuinely do. If a motherboard is squished right up against the top of the case, it's just awkward. It's difficult to plug things in. If you're someone who likes to play around with systems a lot and you're unplugging fans and maybe adjusting RGB or whatever, it's just a real pain. and having that extra height and flexibility. So if at some point you do want to put a all-in-one cooler, most all-in-one coolers do work better in the top. Don't care what anyone says. It's better for your graphics card as well because you don't have the heat wash from the front of the case pushing in on your graphics card. Most people who've got a decent system and a graphics card, they want a decent system because they want to get the most out of it. Put in a radiator in the front of your case, pushing heat directly over and into your graphics card is not going to let you get the best out of your graphics card. And if you're playing games which are graphically reliant on the graphics card more than the CPU, you're not doing it any favors. So yeah, having the ability to mount at least a 240mm AIO radiator in a case above the motherboard, I think is a must. If you can't do that, it's kind of almost like a toy case. It isn't obviously, but you get what I mean. Other things in a case which I would definitely want to see is either a mesh or a relatively open front. Way too many cases on the market have glass front panels or choked off, and it's like, if you're aiming a case at the gaming market, let it breathe. It's not rocket science. Anyway, yeah, definitely we should do that. Asus, yeah, Asus is solid on quality, military grade. Military grade is MSI's tag, isn't it? Mark Point says Hardware Unboxed is not budget gaming. Hardware Unboxed is, they're kind of floating around in that middle ground. So they realise that a lot of people are going to be watched because they want to see comparisons and performance. But they also include some of the lower end stuff as well because they know that there's going to be some of their viewers that can't afford the latest and greatest. So yeah, Hardware Unboxed, get a thumbs up from me. I think they do try and cater. They know their target market is going to be performance stuff, but they also do incorporate some budget stuff as well at times, which I applaud. Sorry, just reading your comments there. Someone saying they'd run a mile from Gigabyte boards. I'll be honest, I've not had, since the B450 boards, the Elite and the Aorus, the Aorus Elite, I've not been overly keen on Gigabyte boards.
Do you see what Captain White said?
No.
You should do a budget case roundup or a live website scan hunt.
Oh yeah, I just answered that.
Okay, fine.
Oh. Paolo says the Gamemax F15, plenty of room at the top for a RAV. I come back to this all the time. The Gamemax F15 is
there.
pretty much, yeah, it's there. It's pretty much the peak of PC cases. So when you talk about the F15, you also have to include the Lian Li 215. That is basically the same chassis, the same fans, the same everything, just with a different badge on there. Arguably the Lian Li looks nicer. I do appreciate the design ethic on the front. I do think it looks slightly more, a bit less gamery, which isn't a bad thing, but for me personally, if it was a taste thing between the two, I think I do slightly prefer the look of the Lian Li 215, but it's the same case, effectively. Also, when you look at that case, there's also a couple of others which are basically identical. So there's the Ions Curo, which is based on the same chassis. Almost all of the Neutron Labs cases in the ATX variety, so you've got the Fusion W7 and others, they're all basically built on that same chassis. And there's quite a few other motherboards out there, cases that have been built on that same chassis. It is an absolute peach, and if only eBuyer would buy more of the bloody things, the world would be a much nicer place. It genuinely would. The Neutron Labs W07 Galaxy, or Galaxy W07, whatever it's called, for me, when it came in at like 40 something pounds, I think it's 45 pounds or 43 pounds, that was unbeatable. It really was. But Ion's Curo looks like it could be the same thing for about a similar price. But I'm waiting for them to send me one for review because I want to see how good it is. But if it's based on the F15 chassis or the Lian Li 215 chassis, but has got some decent fans and a fan hub in there, because not everybody likes 200mm fans. I totally understand that, and to be honest with you, it makes sense because the cutouts are designed for 120s and 140s, really. Let's be completely honest, although the 200s do a very good job. Yeah. There are some nice cases on the market that are cheap, but it's always kind of... I do think myself, do I get these cheaper cases and review them, or do I go for the more mainstream ones? Because they've obviously got more appeal. But I do feel I'm doing myself an injustice by spending more on a case when it is just a case. But there's a lot more to it than that. So, yeah. Kath's got her hand up.
Did you test fit the MSI 280 AIO in my case?
No, I didn't, but I did test fit it into the MSI Forge 100R, which is actually considerably smaller in that top section than the F15. So the F15 is going to be absolutely fine, he says. Slight caveats. No, it should be fine. That is, the MSI radiator is a really thin one. The fans are regular size, so yeah, I don't see any issues at all. You might find that the only thing it might happen with the F15 is the USB cables at the front. You might need to kind of manipulate those a little bit, but I'm sure it will fit. Stupidly, I sent it back. I should have kept hold of it to try it in there, but I haven't got it, so I can't. O'Reilly says the PSU should be in the top of the case above the motherboard, old school case. To be honest with you, there's a lot to be said for that design, for removing heat from the system. But then it puts your power supply in jeopardy because it's getting an extra however many degrees of heat from the CPU, which could be running at sort of 60, 70 degrees. Whereas most power supplies are at their most efficient at 40 degrees Celsius. Let's have a look. I'm scrolling through. Captain White says, I've built around 50 to 60 systems over the last 3 to 4 years, purely as a hobby, and you get to understand what makes a good case when you've done so many. I think you should do a roundup of what makes a good case. Yeah, I probably could do. Make a buyer's guide of what cases to buy, and then probably piss off probably 2/3 of case manufacturers. I'll try that. Simon Arden's with us. How you doing, Simon? James Brock's doing the Neutron dance. Simon Arden says the problem with the F15 for me now, eBuyer ruined it by doing the copy at a third off. Now it's gone. Oh yeah, the Neutron Labs, yeah. Ordinary Dude says I've had good results from Gigabyte B550i boards, one of the best ITX models available. That's interesting. Yeah, funny enough, I've got a B450 Aorus I in my little mini system in the front room. And it's been absolutely fine. I'm missing out loads of comments here, I think. Kaiser Solo's with us. How you doing? Bought a clearance P300R from OC UK, 34 quid. That sounds good.
Hello, Poppy.
Uh-oh, the stream's gone. Buffering. No, it looks right. No drop frames. I'll ignore that. James Miscellaneous says military grade should be reserved for Gigabyte, being they have actual exploding hardware. Harsh but fair. David Andrew says, my Corsair 220T didn't accept an AIO in the top of the case because of clearance. Not good for the price. My Lianli Evo was 280 AUD, yet I had to mod a couple of brackets to fit the hard drive cage when inserted. Yeah, the 220T, I think we bought one of those for George, and I had the same thing, couldn't fit a AIO in there, so we had to send it back. David Andrew says, drop a few $1,000 CPUs to increase your number of views. It works for Linus. It is true. James Brock says, I envy the European case market. Lots of good options. I do kind of envy the European market because Europe has got some really good. There's a company called Mars Gaming, and actually they do some really nice cases and some really decent stuff, but getting hold of it over here is impossible. There's quite a few companies, I can't think of names off the top of my head, but there are companies out there like that. Frecklepuni says, Oztalks hardware can be worth checking out for budget-related tech. Does not usually go overboard. Yeah, actually, Oztalks is... I haven't seen any of this stuff for a long time. I think he sort of dipped out a bit when he was doing his exams or college or whatever. Good night, O'Reilly. James Brock says, by the way, it is Asus who touts military grade. Yeah, that's because you'd think that MSI would do military grade because they've got obviously military themed stuff like Tomahawk, Bazooka, what other ones is there? Arsenal Gaming, obviously, that's kind of military related. Blake says, I watch most things J2 does for entertainment value. I watch Hardware Unboxed selectively if I want to know about a product. They clearly don't like each other, and Mike's in the hardware HU camp. Oh, sorry, yeah, Hardware Unboxed don't like J2. I was working out what you meant then. I was thinking, what, the two guys on Hardware Unboxed don't like each other. It's like, I never saw that coming. I liked Jay's 2 cents videos, and I still do enjoy some of them, to be fair. I don't like the whole Phil cracks up dying laughing. Like, if you find something funny, okay, it's fine. But, like, cut. Cut the video. Like, it feels like Phil is like one of those fanboys who, like, Jay could piss on his shoes while they're in the bathroom and he would just find it so hilarious. And it's like, come on, guy. Please. Have some self-respect. He's probably a very nice guy. I like Nick. Nick's excellent. Nick I feel, is the yin to Phil's yang. William Bodie, question, is the Logi M190 bad or good? It's, well, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's one of those things, it's quite a large mouse. So if you've got bigger hands, it's really nice for that. I still need to do the bloody review on it. It's Cap's fault, it keeps on making me do other things, like gardening and getting sunburnt.
You need to get out in the sun. Look how much your eyes improved.
Yeah, I can actually see the screen. J Rich, thoughts on Colink Observatory Light Mesh RGB case? I I liked Co-Link stuff a lot, and I still do. I think they got too expensive. Whether it's down to shipping costs, whether it's down to them kind of pushing the envelope a bit to see what they can actually get, I feel that is something which definitely needs addressing. But their cases are good. They've got a couple of decent ones. There's quite a lot in their range which are a bit like iffy, but certainly the Observatory range and the Citadels are excellent cases for what they are. In fact, I would go as far to say that the Co-Link Citadel is possibly one of the best micro ATX cases there is. In general, there's not many that come that close. It does seem to have it ticks a lot of boxes, but it's getting quite expensive, so we do need to address that. Ashley says, what about modding cheap cases to make them better, e.g. my Vampiric case? I added mesh filters down the sides, replace front LED with RGB, front LED with ARGB, super cheap, super effective. Yeah, that's always a cool thing to do. I'm always hesitant about doing that because my handiwork when it comes to modding, some things I can do that fine, but generally I'm rubbish, so I try to avoid it where possible. But for those that can do it and want to do it, I think it's really worth doing. Simon Arden says the CIT F3, 23 quid, best budget case. The F3, if they updated the F3 to have a less obvious kind of date to it in terms of the side panel and the front strip, but just have that blacked out, I think they would still do very well. The fact it's even got a built-in card reader is excellent. The CIT F3 is a lot of case for the money. In fact, we did review that very, very early on. Where are we? James from Sydney says, okay, check this out, Mike. I was at a friend's barbecue the other day, saw his and friends' rigs, one MSI 3080 Ti and Asus 3070 Ti. The MSI card, no sag. With that thing they add, Asus adds that metal frame, but it still sags some. Yeah, graphics cards don't seem to sag as much these days. Depends on the case to some extent. Where are we? Captain White, who are some of your favourite budget PC building YouTube channels, Mike? I don't really have, I would say that there's a particular favourite. I don't actually subscribe to very many channels, to be fair. Now, there's probably a channel that I should mention that I haven't, but I don't think there is. There's not really. I probably should subscribe to more channels, but I find it actually, I don't get a great deal of time to watch that much content anyway. Certainly, I guess there's going to be. I kind of like Random Gaming in HD. I know that's not builds as such, but it does tend to go on the kind of the real outer fringe of budget stuff, which I kind of like. It's quite enjoyable.
James Brock.
Cheers, James Brock.
I said it right in the wrong name.
So yeah, I don't know. I might have to get some suggestions, but then saying that I don't really get much time. And quite often, a lot of the more budget-minded YouTubers, they generally kind of dip in and dip out, so there's not really a consistent feed. And that is something which I think, for me, if I'm investing my time into someone's channel, I'd like to have content on a regularly recent basis. A regular thing. Patrick LaBelle, 10 Canadian dollars, thank you very much. Says, enjoying the nice summer weather, but still lurking around from time to time. have a nice summer community. We will, Patrick, we will, and hopefully you will too. Team Drift Nation Videos says hello, how you doing? James, you mean clickbait meld? Who's that? Have I missed something? Oh, Gamer Meld. Gamer Meld has such a strange voice, I can't watch his vids. I was very similar about, is it Red Gaming Tech? Or Red Tech Gaming? There was something about his voice. Obviously, my voice sounds like a complete moron. West Country Bumpkin, but yeah, if you can't listen to someone, you can't listen to someone. Simple as that. Tehi World says, what time is it there? It is currently 10 past 11. We should be wrapping things up actually. Let's have a look. Any more questions? Personally says, you have Random Gaming, good channel. Yeah, it's good. It's good, honest fun, isn't it? Random Gaming in HD. Like it. Darren's with us. Hi, Darren.
Have you got a hat?
I have got a Random Gaming in HD hat somewhere. It's actually on the hook. Coat hook. I probably need it. I should have had it in the garden. Gamer's Nexus is good as a sleep aid. Yeah. Fair play, actually, that Gamer's Nexus, he goes into such depth that he finds it enjoyable for himself. I think that's applaudable, it really is.
Should I try? Missed.
There we go, Random Gaming in HD hat, official, from his Etsy store.
Didn't his sister make it?
His sister did actually make it by hand.
Wild Bill.
Well, Bill.
What have we got to do the arm as well?
Don't know.
You do it.
Well, Bill. Emphasise it. Well, Bill. Stuart Cleary says, I like your accent, Mike. Thank you. Frickapoony says, I like Random Gaming, does not take himself too seriously. I think that is the beauty of it. I do like to watch people that don't take themselves too seriously. Which is why I quite like Linus, because he does take himself seriously, but at the same time, considering the size of his channel and his kind of clout, he doesn't think of himself too seriously, which I think is pretty good. And I do enjoy Linus's content, I generally do. I subscribe to Tech Linked, Tech Quickie, Linus Tech Tips. I quite often watch Channel Super Fun as well. I think it's just good entertainment. It's Kevin and Perry. Football hooligan with that hat on. Mike's mad for it. Mike, you look like a throwback to Kevin and Perry now.
Thank you, Mrs. Patterson.
Thank you, Miss Passon. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Passon. Oh, Sunfair. Captain White, Greg Salazar has some good series recently. Something like him, but I always thought he seemed genuine, especially the Fix or Flop series where he tries to fix upgrade viewers' PCs for free. Yeah, Greg Salazar is... Yeah, I don't know. I do like his stuff. There's some things I don't, but there's a very nice kind of naivety to him, which I find quite endearing. Might look like Paddington Bear with that hat on. I'm ready for my marmalade sandwich. Team Drift Nation video says, is Scrapyard War still a thing? No, and I think officially Linus has said it isn't going to happen ever again. They're done. Yeah, Greg Salazar, I think it was actually good that recently he did a thing about a motherboard, and it turned out it was just a BIOS that he could have updated and that would have fixed it. I'm pretty sure in the video he actually updated the wrong BIOS as well, because I think the board he had was a Wi-Fi one and he was on the website of the non-Wi-Fi, which he didn't say anything about, but I could be wrong on that. But because it's the same board as what I've got under my desk, I kind of, oh yeah, I recognise that. So, anyway.
You've only watched your video.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good stuff. Tejo says, how long have you become a YouTuber? It's about 4 or 5 years, I suppose, now.
2017, wasn't it?
Yeah. Started off messing around with it in 2017. My head's a bit too hot for that. On a more technical level, have you tried watching Explaining Computers channel? No, but I do watch Veritasium. If you've not seen Veritasium, that is a fantastic channel. A little bit too kind of mainstream media stuff, but it's good though. It's interesting stuff. Very, very good. Jeff, I think he's yeah, Vegemite sandwich or Marmite sandwich, I suppose. Some people like him, some people hate him. Yeah, Greg sometimes can't see the wood for the trees, but he's genuine enough to admit it. I think he probably is in the same position as me at times, where because I'm kind of working on my own, even though Kath's here, she isn't that technically minded. So sometimes where someone else...
Kettle.
Yeah, she can work a kettle and
A sink.
she can cook a mean salad, but she's not technically minded. So some things she'll come in and she'll say, oh, should you have done this or whatever? Have you plugged that in or what's going on? But on some levels of technical stuff, it's always nice to have someone who is in kind of the same level of you or similar level, so they can say, well, how about such and such, and bouncing ideas around, which is why like Linus and Jake work really well, because they're both at a similar level, probably Jake more so he can say things to Linus and Linus can bounce things across them and they can fix most problems that way, which again, if I'm recording a video, I'm so wrapped up in recording the video that I don't always see something which I should have seen. Luckily it doesn't happen too often, I'm quite proud to say, to be honest with you, but I can see how that would help, definitely. How long have you been into tech stuff, Mike? Pretty much forever. Probably since I was a very young child.
When things were black and white.
Wild Bill says, I quite enjoy Tech Check. I've not seen that one or heard of it. It's a good idea, getting some good ideas of who to watch. Tech Yes City is a good channel. Yeah, Brian is actually I've actually been communicating with Brian on Facebook, and he does seem genuinely a really nice guy. And considering I'm just some like dipshit UK YouTuber with bugger all viewers, he's a massive channel, and he actually replied and wished me well and shared a few ideas. So yeah, Brian's cool. Although I wish you stopped saying bye at the end. Brian, if you're watching or someone forced this to you, I do apologise, but I can't do the bye at the end. James Mercedes says, my channel is the only one that implores you to sharpen your graphics card PCB, therefore it is superior. I could go with that. Yeah, actually, in terms of other channels which I like watching, James Miscellaneous, especially when he goes into depth on his RGB or universal audio drivers, they are quite good videos, and I would suggest possibly taking a look at them if you haven't already. Sometimes he just goes on a rant or posts something that has been topical of the day, which is quite interesting as well. Adamant IT. Adamant IT, I can watch, and Graham is a very knowledgeable dude, but he calls his viewers interwebs, which immediately gets my heckles up. And he kind of does the Jeremy Clarkson thing a little bit, like over enunciating things like, wait till we see the BIOS, or wait till we get the post. It's like, okay. it's probably a social thing that his friends do. So yeah, whatever. Just sometimes it annoys me. And yeah, no, I think he's very cool, and the way he's actually got his shop going, and also do all the YouTube videos, and he gets some really good views on some of the stuff. So it's definitely engaging content. If you want to learn how to build and fix PCs, then yeah, Adamant IT is pretty awesome.
I read that as Adam and Tit.
Adam and Tit. That is no way to speak about. I can't think what his the other guy on the thing is. Caradog. Where are we? Stuart Cleary says, "I like Adamant IT geekiness." Yes, very much so. David does tech stuff. Yeah, our son likes him a lot. I've seen a couple of videos, I think.
James is off.
Cheers, James. Yeah, we should be going as well. Patrick LaBelle says, you became a YouTuber when you switched to this place instead of your kitchen table. Yeah, the kitchen table was, we filmed some videos in the kitchen, they were pretty cool. They weren't though, I was frustrated and I was like furious, raging. I was like, why do these things not work?
That was the nose hair trimmer.
Oh God! One of the early videos, I was reviewing anything. I just didn't care. I did because I thought it's just learning how to do it. I got a nose hair trimmer, which was like ran on a AAA battery, little battery operated nose hair trimmer. I thought, well, F it. Like, I've got no airs and graces. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. So I got this nose hair trimmer, and I'm about to go for it and get in like do the nose hair, and I put the battery in. And for some reason, it just got red hot. Literally, like, I thought it was going to explode. So I had to quickly, like, take it and throw it down the garden.
Out the cat flat.
Turned out that the battery was doing something, like, shorting out somewhere. And it was just about to melt the battery. I was like, why do these things happening? I've got this video done. I've done the unboxing.
And you couldn't edit or anything very good there.
Editing was, like, way out there. It was good fun.
And you do a close-up to the camera, don't you, at the end?
Stuart Cleary, anyone remember the tech tuber that had triple bypass surgery? He is only about 35. No, I don't know who that was.
You weren't there someone?
It probably is, but I can't think of their name off the top of my head. When are you going to do a 500 the tower review build? Well, actually, I had been speaking to oh God, I can't think of his name now. Who's the Thermaltake UK guy? Adam. I've been speaking to Adam at Thermaltake UK, and he's actually sent me all the specs for the Tower 500. Apparently, they are going to be sending a Tower 500, the Tough AIO 360 Ultra with the screen, and the front panel as well to go on the Tower 500. The Tower. And yeah, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm honestly not. I think it's too big. I think it's too big a case. I think it's a lot of money. It's definitely a showcase PC case. It's not designed for regular folk to put on their desk. It's designed for modders. So there's limited kind of mileage in who that is going to be suitable for. But I'm interested in seeing what it performs like. I have seen a couple of people that have already commented that the airflow isn't great on it, which is to be expected because it's kind of, there's a lot of mesh there. There's a lot of their thermal take kind of oval cutouts, which in themselves are excellent for airflow, but as soon as you put a mesh behind it, it basically reduces it all down to basically nothing. And because it's going to be pulling in air from all directions everywhere, it's not going to have a clear pathway. So it'll be interesting to see what we can do with it anyway. Oh yeah, Timmy Joe, wasn't it, who had the triple bypass? Yeah. Oh yeah, I did the Tower 100, which is its baby brother. Mark Point says, unless Thermaltake admits to British Racing Green, screw them. Yeah, that's a very good idea. Mark Point says, airflow is only as bad as you make it. I beg to differ if you've ever owned a Cooler Master Q300L or the Masterbox 3.1 Lite, or Masterbox Lite. Jeff, yeah, Kath's got the kettle on. Right, it is way past our bedtime, so I better wrap things up. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's been an emotional journey. I'm glad you've all made it through. I don't know how we managed to start talking about budget PCs and then started putting the world to rights and then comparing YouTubers. And then gone full circle with airflow again in cases. So anyway, it was fun. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourselves. And yeah, we'll be doing it again next week. So obviously if you want to check out the channel, if you haven't done already, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button if you haven't done that as well. That would be very helpful. Best thing you can do to help out good old Mike and Kath is to share the video. So share it wherever you can. Because every time you click a share thing on a YouTube button, that is what the algorithm looks for now. It doesn't care about likes much. It doesn't care about views. What it worries about is engagement and viewer engagement. So if you've enjoyed a video so much that you actually want to share it, YouTube's like, whoa, a red light goes off somewhere and they're like, hang on, this video's being shared for some reason. Either it's social commentary, pornography, or good content. And if it's the latter, then hopefully they will then post it around further, which is awesome. Anyway, I've rabbited on for way too long, as I often do. So what I'll do, wish you all a very good weekend, what's left of it. If you want to see more content, obviously there will be videos Monday through to Saturday, it seems at the moment, because Kath's just getting a bit trigger happy with the schedule. Blame Kath if there's too much content. Please do blame Kath. Otherwise, thank you very much for your super chats and your memberships. If you haven't joined already, please consider doing so. It doesn't cost a great deal of money. Or alternatively, if you want to, you can join our Patreon. That starts from, I think, something like $2 or something. So if you want to help support us directly, you can do that. Or if you want to support a little bit more, you can get things like Mike's Unboxing pen, Mike's Unboxing t-shirt, Mike's Unboxing polo shirt, Mike's Unboxing tool pen, Mike's Unboxing hoodie, Mike's Unboxing hat, and... well, yeah, I'll just get the random Gaming in HD one and just cross it out and write Mub on it. Sorry, random Gaming in HD. Anyway, I digress. So thank you all very much for joining. Hopefully you've had a good evening. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. There must be a more elegant solution to do this. I need to set up a thing